C.J. Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Here we are! Yeah!
Let's go!
We're going to do a half hour about grass versus AstroTurf. Let's do it now. You ready? No.
We are not going to do that.
I'm kidding.
Why in the hell did we
I'm
do that?
kidding.
Are you talking about Aaron Rodgers' injury last night?
Yeah.
I did see Joe Thomas tweeted something about that, or retweeted something about that.
David, what is it? What's his name?
Bakhtiari, his old teammate in Green Bay.
Yeah, the tackle.
Had said that he blames it on the turf. I don't know if that's
Jets
true.
season is over. See ya. Thanks for trying.
Yeah, wow. But you know what? Before we throw shovels of dirt on them, this team now, their defense is Browns-like to me. Their defense
it's been there. It was like that
their
last
defense.
year.
Let's see how far their defense can carry them with a really inferior quarterback.
I think they're in great shape for a nice 6-7 win season with that defense.
Well, we'll see.
What's the area code? What's the area code where the Jets play?
They're in New Jersey. They're in New Jersey.
Oh, 201.
We're going to do a Hunger Games style. 212 with Aaron Rodgers' jersey up there. They put it in District 212. We're going to raise you to the sky like in Hunger Games. You are now eliminated.
Wasn't that one of the most Jets things ever?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We say that with the Browns, but the Jets...
He has 0 passing yards in his career with the New York Jets.
Well, assuming he doesn't play next year, which I think
coming back from a torn Achilles at his age, it's highly unlikely, guys.
You see that
we may have seen the last of Aaron Rodgers.
Did you see it? DraftKings posted, not DraftKings.
Yes, the
fantasy
0.5
thing.
yards.
Oh my God!
And nobody hit.
Oh my God!
Their over/under was a half a passing yard.
I have a guy that in a similar vein. A friend of mine was in a fantasy league. He only needed a half a point. From Aaron Rodgers. Half a point.
That was it.
Which means I think he only needed like 3 passing yards, and he lost.
Yeah. I look at this. If you've ever torn a ligament on your lower body, I've torn my Achilles heel. I've torn both my
Achilles. You've torn your Achilles? I didn't know you torn that.
I've torn my Achilles too.
Oh, that's a nightmare. I'm told.
I partially tore it. I got married in a boot.
Oh my goodness.
So hey, listen. The crazy part is when you get that look in your face as a grown man.
Did it feel like you got kicked in the back of your leg?
No,
I thought I got. Well, you didn't have. You didn't have a full tear?
The complete tear is supposed to be.
I had a full tear. I was playing basketball, believe it or not. That's the last time I played basketball. Daryl Ryder and I kind of like collided a little bit.
That was it.
And I thought I got shot in the leg.
Yeah, I've talked to guys. I've been on the field with a guy that tore it, and he said it felt like somebody hit me in the back.
That's what they
said. It is officially official, by the way.
Yes.
Tom Pelissero just tweeted, complete and full tear of his left Achilles. That's
officially
official. Aaron Rodgers.
Yikes.
By the way,
and he took that massive pay cut for him too, didn't he?
Who did? Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
I don't think it was a massive pay cut.
I thought he left like 70.
I think his kids will eat.
Don't feel badly for
him. By the way, real quick before we
he doesn't have kids that we know of.
Yeah, right.
Before we officially start the show, there was something I was going to tell you guys right before the show, but I'll tell you on air. Take us 10 seconds. So yesterday, the Cubs called up a kid, their top prospect named Pete Crow Armstrong, right?
I haven't heard of him.
20-year-old kid. He's a top 20 prospect.
Okay.
They got him for the Mets for Javi Baez. So he played there for 2 months. Great trade. All right, he called up, made his major league debut as a pinch runner and whatever. And then he got a sack bunt, actually, in his first at-bat. But the reason I bring it up is because his real-life mother was the mom. Do you remember the movie Little Big League where the kid becomes the owner of the Twins?
I do.
His mom in that movie is this guy's actual mom.
Oh, my God. That's
so she played the mom
of a kid who became a manager.
Right. And now her real-life kid's in Major League Baseball.
Wow, that's kind of freaky.
Funny?
Yeah, very wild. Busy show today. The last thing I said to Tyvis before we started the show, we're on a big roll. Don't screw this up. Don't screw this up.
It wouldn't be because of me.
But we're glad to have you back. He's going to break down some plays, as he always does. Coach Ty back in the building. Mary Kay Cabot's going to be here. Also, Cameron Wolfe of the NFL Network. I've been a fan of his work for some time. He was formerly at ESPN. Now he's been at the NFL Network for the last couple of years, I think.
Yep.
DJ Hazmat has his video, his inaugural 2023 Browns video, hot off the presses. You'll see the world debut right here later on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We're huge fans of DJ Hazmat. His work is incredible. He's such a talented guy. Thrilled to have him here. Also, Mikey's going to tell us the top 5 things we probably missed Sunday from the NFL while we were all going nuts over the Browns' victory. We don't miss anything, Mike. We've seen it all. But if you want to go through with this crazy little deal, we'll humor you.
It's not necessarily for you guys.
Good morning of the day to you.
The people out there who were so locked into the Browns' utter domination.
Got it.
Cincinnati.
Maybe you were at the game.
Maybe you were at the game. Maybe you missed it. But it's the 5 best things that happened on Sunday that you may or may not have seen. And before we dive into our first topic today, guys, I do want to remind everybody that if you need Browns gear for the upcoming season, for anything, frankly, you got to go to fanatics.com/UCSS. Use that link on your screen, fanatics.com/UCSS, to get your Browns gear. We get a little kickback on the back end. It is all the fantastic gear you can find on Fanatics, and then you help us out at the same time. So if you're shopping for Browns gear, if you're shopping for presents for the Christmas season, the holiday season, you better be using that link, fanatics.com/UCSS.
We appreciate
that, Jay.
By the way, kickback is usually used to describe something that's like shady or illegal.
Yeah.
I think
Let's just say we get
a cut.
We get a cut.
And we can't say rebate either.
It's not shady.
Now, I will say, I was with Mike when he cut this deal. It was 3 a.m. on Superior Avenue downtown in an alley, and there was a lot of shade going around. I'm not sure that this isn't shady, but go ahead and use that link. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Mike, everything good behind the glass? Everybody good back there? We ready to go?
Everything's good, yeah. We're also going to do Coach Tyvis is tomorrow, but we're doing PFF grades versus the eye test.
Hey, Mike.
Oh, okay. Tomorrow is Coach Tyvis.
Tomorrow's Coach. We got 3
All
guests
right.
today.
That's right. We get Tyvis Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tuesday and Wednesday during
Isn't
football
it?
season.
Isn't
So
it
Coach
great?
Double the
Tyvis
fun.
I know.
will be tomorrow.
Then
Wow.
we gonna bring back true or false? Because Jay is here.
We do
you know?
need that.
Oh,
back.
yes.
We haven't done that as a
It
foursome
is
in a
already
while.
made and ready for tomorrow.
Oh, yes. Yeah, baby.
I'm not here
It's
tomorrow.
within my
Oh, you ain't here tomorrow. Dang it.
reach. Wait, who's not here tomorrow?
Take the day off tomorrow. but-
Damn, okay.
Yeah, well,
All right. Well,
Bull, hey,
okay.
Bull, we'll play with Bull after the show
Yeah, I'll
today,
be-
and we'll
yeah.
supplant his answers in
All right,
via
fine.
soundbite.
Very good. We're going to dive in, and we look ahead now to Monday. Victory Monday was yesterday. We celebrated the big win. The Gnats are buzzing all over Tyvis today.
Did you see that?
All over Tyvis. Can we get a mint for Tyvis?
It's just one. It refuses.
It was
to
here
die.
yesterday. It was buzzing your tower yesterday.
It would not leave me alone.
It's a little gnat. It's like a fruit fly.
It's
It's a dark.
All right, whoever
thing.
kills him holds the belt for the day.
It's a dark thing. G, don't worry about it.
All right, let's dive in. We can add to this conversation, and I don't know if you want to do this as a marriage package. I think we should, because now we knew yesterday that Cam Heyward ruled out from Monday night's game against the Browns. That in and of itself is a big difference maker. Obviously, he supports the defensive front. He helps T.J. Watt put pressure on opposing quarterbacks. I felt just this move on its own was a big, big deal for this football game. We'll talk about what that means and how that impacts Monday night, but also now we can throw onto that the fact that Dawand Johnson, one of the Steelers' top wide receivers, is also out for Sunday's game. He was hurt in the loss to the Niners, or to Monday night's game. He was hurt versus the Niners on Sunday. Guys, I don't know if you want to package deal this.
Yeah,
Bull,
no doubt.
Do you want to go together? Do you want to go
No, it's a huge
individually?
deal.
This is massive.
This is
in
a
my
big
mind.
deal. I mean, outside, I'm not high on Kenny Pickett, but just still, the quarterback's obviously the biggest loss when you lose a quarterback. But outside of losing your quarterback, and in their case, T.J. Watt, I mean, those are two of the, like, if you had to say like the top 6 players that the Steelers could not afford to lose, those would be 2 of the top 6 guys.
I would agree with that.
Right?
Yeah.
You'd put Watt, again, even if you don't love the quarterback, which I don't, you never want to lose your starting quarterback. Probably Minka Fitzpatrick, but that's about it. I mean, those are 2 of their most important players. I would say Dawand. I know people are high on George Pickens, but as of today, Dawand Johnson is their most accomplished offensive player. It's not even debatable.
I think most would agree that Pickens has a bigger upside, ultimately.
Sure,
than
but
Johnson.
right now, and he's only played 1 year,
Right.
and Dawand Johnson's been their main guy the last couple of years. And then defensively, I'll be curious to see if it like J.J. Watt playing without Cam Heyward, like how much does that T.J. Watt, playing without Cam Heyward. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. He's
So
the
I
support
think these
staff.
are. I was already heavily leaning towards the Browns winning this game, and obviously now I'm leaning even
If
more.
you were setting a line, Bull, would this move the line? These
A
two
little
injuries?
bit. A little bit,
A
yeah.
point, maybe?
Yeah, I think so, but especially between the two of them.
Do we know what Vegas has done with the line today?
I didn't look at it this morning.
Mike, maybe
I'll tell you right now. Give me 20 seconds.
I saw it at 1.5 yesterday
It was 1.5
morning.
yesterday. I saw that as well.
They don't like to go to 3. 3's a big barrier to cross.
Yeah.
It's 2 now. 2 now.
So
All right.
it already
So moved
changed
it
to
a half a
half.
point.
I bet you it goes to at least 2.5 before the game starts.
Interesting. Tyvis?
Yeah.
I mean, losing Cam Heyward, first of all, especially going up against the Browns have Nick Chubb. And Cam Heyward has had a great career stopping the run. So now you're telling me you're going to lose one of your best run stoppers? Yeah, that's a big loss for them because now it opens up the pass and the run game. With the Steelers, at least they were always good at doing something, shutting down one of the two, the pass or the run game. Cam Heyward's not in there. TJ Watt might struggle a little bit. Obviously, he's going up against Dawand Jones. We'll see what Big Thanos can do. Go Bucks. But yeah, that one scares me a lot for them. As far as the offense goes, Deontay Johnson, although last year he didn't score, he went the whole season and didn't score any touchdowns.
Which was stunning.
Yeah,
Crazy.
but he still was very productive as winning one-on-ones and getting them down the field. He just didn't get scored in the red zone. So Kenny Pickett will struggle a little bit because that's his guy. You know, that's a guy that I can count on. George Pickens makes the big plays. He makes the fancy one-hand catches and the big-time catches.
Right.
But to get down the field, if the game is on the line, I know that Deontay Johnson is the guy that I'm going to be looking for because he wins more times than not in his one-on-one situation. So it's a big deal for Pittsburgh. It's a good thing for the Browns. For me, another division game to go up 2-0 in the division. It's hard to do, especially in this division. They got a chance to do something special and be 2-0 in the conference would even be even more incredible.
I'm always so nervous when folks start putting something in the dub column before the game is played.
I don't think anybody thinks this is a guarantee.
Not at all.
This is the
No,
NFL.
but I've heard a lot of fans yesterday say, well, hey, we should start 2-0. We should, but, I know now, in the meantime, G. Bush had announced as soon as Johnson was hurt that he is going exclusively on a liquid Kool-Aid diet this week. That's all he's drinking. And he's counting his packets right now. Is that a blueberry?
That's a record number of packets in one
You got to mix them all.
There's just so many cars.
You got to mix them all.
There's so many different ways I can consume
that is a
Kool-Aid.
crazy combination. If you just throw them all in one pitcher.
If they,
I wonder what that would taste like.
I might do this for y'all. If the Browns win by 21 or more,
Oh my goodness.
I will take the Kool-Aid pack and pound it by itself.
Just the powder.
Just the powder.
Well, that can't be
Dude,
good.
you might literally go into a sugar cone.
Yeah,
tell you
that
what.
can't be great.
I tell you what.
Actually,
I don't want to see you do
No,
that.
no, no, no.
Actually, there's no sugar in these.
Listen.
Really?
true.
Oh, it's the fake stuff.
It's the sugar that gets you to put it in.
Yeah, that's why they say you got
This
to
is-
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's just the flavoring. You're right.
That's
you're
what
right.
gets you.
Yeah, you only need about 8 cups of sugar for a pitcher of Kool-Aid.
But
That's a fact.
But I tell you what, look, I even got who got this one? The blue raspberry lemonade. Shout out to the Kool-Aid gang, by the way. Hey man, people was hitting me up. Hey, you almost crashed my site last night.
How many shirts did you sell?
Man, I had.
He almost crashed.
For real, I don't have that much traffic like that. There's like 200-300 people in there at once. I was like, calm down. The order will go through. You just gotta wait for a second. So no, I
Do
showed.
we want to show the Kool-Aid shirt one more time? I had people asking me about this yesterday. They said, "Is this a real thing?"
Yes.
I'm buying
You have a
one.
shirt with that logo?
Yes.
That's awesome.
I'm buying it.
And
Yes.
Is it still some
Yes.
available?
Yes.
Is it the same
About to buy
material
this.
as the other shirts you've given us?
Yes.
That
So
was
G
quality stuff.
has given us generously given us all a bunch of his swag.
And it's quality.
And it's all quality stuff. In fact, I don't know if I think I've said this. The brown, there's one shirt that you gave me. It's a brown T-shirt with the gold.
That's a gold
panda.
That's
it's my favorite shirt. I wear it around the house like 5 times a week.
Wow.
I'm screwing it up because I'm washing it. So
You're
much.
right.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that.
It's a one.
swag.
It's
I
a
love
1
that
of
one.
20.
It's the most comfortable
Is this
T-shirt.
Kool-Aid?
It's the most comfortable T-shirt I've ever worn.
Is this Kool-Aid going on hoodies too?
Yes.
Yes, I need
The Kool-Aid will
one.
go.
I'll be sporting the panda hoodie everywhere.
And it comes in black and it comes in a tropical blue color.
I can't do the blue, but I
Bush,
can do the black.
You really are the master of marketing. You really are, bro. You are the master of marketing.
It was funny. My mom called me. She said, Yeah, I was on the chat. I was in the chat. I'll be relegating. And somebody said that they need those Kool-Aid. I think you need to talk to an artist today. Usually when she says, I think you need to do something, that means you should do it probably now.
Yeah, it should have been done yesterday.
Yeah, like, you was like, yeah, you've been talking about it. You might as well get it. So I went on. I went and got one of my guys, said, listen, I need a Kool-Aid guy, but I need the pole here. But I need it. I can't be the direct Kool-Aid. Put me some swag on it. He's sending back to me. He's sending back to me 25 minutes.
Where can I buy this hoodie?
I will give you the link. I will put that. Matter of fact,
we need tell everybody.
Yeah.
We need the link.
And are the people
the link.
making it older than 10 years old?
My shops are right here in North
good.
Carolina.
Okay, good. Listen.
Yeah,
then I'm all in. I just don't want to support China.
At least there'll be at least 14
Thailand.
in North Carolina.
My joints get drop shipped from North Carolina, so you'll be all right.
All right,
so,
very good.
You see how conscious I am? American made, American built, G. Bush, Fifth Dimension Media.
Unlike most of the giant companies in America that are sapping off our tax money and
G. Bush, send us the link. We'll put it in the YouTube chat. We'll also tweet it out. So if you want your G. Bush Kool-Aid Mafia merch, we will make sure you guys get that.
By the way, getting back to football
Heyward,
here.
Though.
Getting back to football here, Mike. I think a big deal with Cam Heyward being out is you just mentioned Dawand Jones is going to have to deal with T.J. Watt.
Yep.
I was about to say J.J. again. And obviously, you're going to – I don't care how big he is, how well he's played, you're going to struggle with. But because Cam Heyward's out, now Wyatt Teller can help out more than he could have normally if he was playing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you take out their best interior defender, well, the guard doesn't have to worry as much about the tackle and can help out a little more on the end.
What I think Kevin Stefanski is going to learn from what happened with the James Hudson thing.
Let's hope so.
If David Njoku,
because he did not learn in the course of the game, and it was repetitive.
If David Njoku isn't on that side or the running back ain't chipping on that side, then that's just a terrible job. But you got to give Kevin Stefanski some credit. I mean,
it's not Kevin Stefanski, it's Jim Schwartz.
What are you talking about?
Oh, the offense.
No. It's Alex Van Pelt and Kevin
I was thinking it was the
Stefanski.
defense.
I'm like, wait,
My bad.
did we elevate Schwartz to the offensive coordinator too?
But you got to give Kevin Stefanski some credit just from one game this season.
Yeah.
He took his game plan and scrapped it in the middle of a game.
He did.
Last year, he would have died on the hill. This is what we said we're gonna do. We're gonna do it.
Well, that's what happened against New Orleans last year.
Exactly. You got to give him credit for that, and you got to give him credit for the first time they went in at halftime and made something called adjustments.
Yeah.
And the players came out in the second half and handled it unbelievably. It was like a whole new game plan when they came out in the second half. We didn't see that offensively or defensively last year.
Especially defensively.
So I give them credit for doing that. Kevin Stefanski is still a young head coach. He's still learning. And last year, he had to go through it. This team went through it. And now they're a better team because of it. They was able to make these checks and adjustments.
And Zach Taylor, I've been watching a lot of Bengals content. I was listening to Locked On Bengals, and, James Rapine talked about it. Hey, one of the problems they had with Zach Taylor was, look, if you guys are going to come out here, what are we doing when Joe is not having his best game? Obviously, he looked a little gimpy. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it was wet. They didn't know that it was going to be like that. They weren't prepared for it. But can you get a pass here or some maybe lean on the running game or not throw so many 50-50 balls to guys that, usually catch those, but it was raining. And so I will give Stefanski that credit because I just thought he adjusted more than what Zach Taylor did and said, okay, well, let me go to my run package. Now, in this game, when you talk about all them dudes being out, I'm sorry, Pittsburgh. I'm sorry we had to do it to you.
You're not sorry. Don't be sorry.
But for all them people that had y'all finishing ahead of us, you guys are going to feel the full brunt of the fact that you just don't have the same ball players we do. You just are.
He don't want to jinx it.
He don't want to jinx it. It's okay, Jay. You can step out on it.
You know what the Steelers are? They're Jason from Friday the 13th. They are. You thought that Jason was dead when they put the pickaxe in his forehead.
Right.
You thought it was over.
Thought it was done.
Yeah.
You thought, here come the rolling credits. Then all of a sudden you hear, jing, jing, jing. And here comes Jason out of the barn with the pickaxe stuck in his forehead. Yeah. He's got a double-barrel shotgun. Yeah, I don't kick dirt on these guys, and I just never ever declare them dead or
But
out.
they're also, Jason, from Friday the 13th, in terms of they're boring and nobody really cares anymore. They're a mediocre team. They don't do anything. They haven't won a playoff game in years.
I wouldn't say they're mediocre.
They've been the definition of mediocrity for the last
They
bunch of
still
years.
finishing over 500, so that's
make
not
the playoffs.
mediocre.
They just don't make noise.
They didn't make
in
the playoffs last year.
We've all seen people that have a reputation, and I give it Steelers. Y'all got a tremendous reputation. Your foundation of what you guys used to do is brilliant. But guess what? Like today, okay, you got T.J. Watt. You missing Heyward. Good luck in the middle with the three guys that we got
sounds like
in the
this
middle.
is Pittsburgh RIP.
No. See this.
I mean, now that's what I'm hearing. He's talking about past tense. Pittsburgh, what y'all used to be, was great.
There's no excuse for the Browns losing this game.
Okay, let's make fun of Mikey for a second.
Yeah.
Because when you put this question on the rundown, I know that you got to put questions that spur conversation. But you actually put on there, is this a must-win for Cleveland?
That's absurd. I mean, it's just absurd.
Listen, I know
Mikey,
it's
we
Bull's
love
favorite
you, but
question.
what?
Mike loves asking that question every week.
Wait, so
It's
this
a question the fans are asking. It's a question we could ask our next guest because we have a guest we have to bring
What
in here.
fan is asking, is this a must-win for Cleveland?
It's ridiculous.
Nobody.
There's no such thing as must-wins in
No,
week
there
two.
is such thing.
No.
Playoff games or
No, I said in
elimination
week two.
games.
I said
Oh,
in
in
week
week two.
two.
You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It can't be a must-win.
No.
It's week 2.
No.
All right. You mentioned our next guest, and
We'll bring him in, but I got a fast read first.
okay, go
I
ahead.
gotta
Do
do
your
a fast read.
Yeah.
If you guys did not catch the barbershop yesterday with G. Bush, it has over 15,000 combined views in less than a day. G. Bush, after the shows on Mondays and Wednesdays here, he goes on his own YouTube channel or on his own platform, stream through UCSS, and you get more content from the Kool-Aid Mafia King himself.
Now, is that a
the
UCSS
one,
show?
the only,
Yeah.
the G. Bush. He does
Y'all
a
get all the
post-game
views.
show with us after the game, then he does his own post-game
Y'all get all the views.
That's all we care about.
That's all they
that
care
is the
about.
Barbershop with G. Bush. Make sure you guys go check it out. And with that, let's welcome in our next guest. He was in Cleveland this weekend for the Browns-Bengals game. He covers the NFL nationally for NFL Network. It is Cameron Wolfe. What's up, Cam?
What's good? How y'all feeling?
Cameron, what's up, man? Listen, by the way, big fan of your work. I remember when you were at ESPN. I also been watching you at the NFL Network. You do a great job. You were here
Appreciate
for the game. What was your headline takeaway from it?
Oh, wow. The Browns defense looks a lot different than I last remember.
That's a good takeaway.
That was it. I mean, obviously Joe Burrow had some rust. The weather was rougher than either coaching styles thought it would be. But watching Jim Schwartz kind of lead this defense and seeing them play games with them up front with their pass rush, those cornerbacks seem to have the Bengals number. It makes me think that maybe we should rethink the AFC North, and the Browns have a better chance than people think if they can keep this up.
You're buying that after 1 week? Do you think that's overreactionary?
No, I don't think it's overreactionary. I think that the question I would have with the Browns is their offense still. I don't know if we saw enough from Deshaun Watson and the offense to make me feel like, oh, well, everything's fixed. But that defense, which I think underachieved last year, I think they definitely should be much improved. That's not an overreaction. I saw enough to make me feel like that'll be one of the better defenses we see this year.
Cam, do you think that the weather elements is the reason why that offense was like that? And if it wasn't for the weather, did you see enough, from just schematically and players that was open and some of the missed throws? Do you think that is enough to say that this is going to be a good offense?
Yeah, the weather definitely was a factor. It was weird. I was on the field in pregame, and I was talking to coaches on both sides, and I asked them about the weather because it was just misting. And they were like, it's not going to be a factor. It's not going to be a factor, And then all of a sudden the lake effect comes through, and it's like constant rain. The ball was heavy. I think you saw Zach Taylor say it was the biggest rain game he had in 10 years. It definitely affected both quarterbacks, Watson and Burrow. So I think you'll see them both better next week because of it. But what's interesting to me about like Deshaun is you've heard all offseason Kevin Stefanski talking about how he's catering the offense around Watson, right? I was watching at times in the game, and it still felt like they were adjusting to each other. Stefanski to Watson and to the rest of the guys. He wants to scramble. He wants to buy time. Amari Cooper is very much a technician, and so sometimes I can feel like Amari was expecting the ball at a certain time and Deshaun was buying time. So I'm eager to see how that works out through time. Right now I haven't seen enough to make me feel like, Watson's back. But, again, the weather, it's just week 1. I think we still have plenty of time.
So what would you say to the Browns fan that is nervous that Watson has not played at a high level through 7 games in Cleveland?
I would say there's reason to be nervous. I mean, he hasn't. That's the reality. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Watson has not looked like the guy they paid for, and so we're waiting to see if he turns into that guy. I can tell you the coaches believe he will, but I haven't seen anything that gives me anything firm. That being said, you have Nick Chubb. You have that defense. It makes it easier on Deshaun. It takes some pressure off of him. He doesn't have to be the reason they win games every week. But I do think you'll see a lot of this early, what you saw Sunday, where the legs mixed with Nick Chubb's legs may be the biggest reason they have success on offense.
Now, Cam, you was out there on the field, and we talk about Jim Schwartz. We talk about what the defense looks like. Have you ever seen a stand-up defensive tackle, middle linebacker, point guard dribbling through his legs, looking to create and rush the passer at the same time?
Nah, he looked like KD out there. He was playing games. And the crazy thing about that play, and I don't know if people realized it when it went viral, that was the 6th play of the game. That's not like this is the 4th quarter and, they done beat up on him in a while. Miles starting to feel himself. And no, this is the 6th play of the game. They knew pretty early on that they were going to have their way, and the Bengals did not react and adjust at all. Like, I think there was 4 or 5 plays that Myles Garrett was at that inside linebacker position, and every single time he got inside and caused pressure or got a sack. And so, Myles is feeling himself. I think it helps that he's got some buddies now with Darius Smith and Obo and Dalvin Thompson. That depth of the defensive line is going to be hard to stop. But, that's fun, man. That is a fun play. And you know what I wish I had an eyeball on? I wish I had an eyeball in the film room, the Bengals film room, the day after the game when they're talking to the line about this play. And it's like, what are you thinking here, Ted Karras, the center? What are you thinking here as Myles, is ripping past you? This dude's a one-of-a-kind player, and he should once again be a heavy favorite for Defensive Player of the Year.
Cam, top end for this defense, what's the ceiling for them? How good can they be?
Yeah, they could be a top 10 defense. I think that's probably realistic. I think top 5 is obviously the lofty goal, but I think top 10, given where they were last year, I think they were somewhere in the 20s last year, would be a big jump. I love their young corners, and one guy who probably doesn't get enough acclaim is Martin Emerson, and you guys know him, but I think a lot of people in the national landscape don't. And just watching him and a lot of his battles with T. Higgins yesterday, T. Higgins had 0 catches on 8 targets. Like, I have not seen people do T. Higgins like Martin Emerson did T. Higgins. And I think because of those corners, along with the pass rushers I have, it's hard to beat a team that has 3 really good corners and 3+ pass rushers. So I think they can be a top 10 unit. Jim's going to be aggressive. I talked to Obo in the locker room, and he gave me probably my favorite quote of the year so far when I asked him about their scheme. And he said, seat belts off. We got to get off the rock, and we shoot first and ask questions later. I like that style of defense. And I think that the Browns are going to have fun. The Browns fans are going to have fun watching defense all year.
Cam, when you seen this Pittsburgh and San Francisco score, I don't know if you got a chance to go back and watch it, but what do you think was the downfall in that game to lead to San Francisco being so dominant against Pittsburgh? And I think it was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, it's not preseason anymore, Kenny Pickett. To be real with you, because I'm not gonna lie, I saw the Steelers in preseason, and they look really good. And so people were asking me, and I'm like, okay, the Steelers might be that offense. And then week 1 happened, and I think Pickett was talking about it after the game, and he said the 49ers defense is a little bit better than the defenses we played in the preseason, and that was his big takeaway. I think the Steelers are in an interesting spot because you see Cam Heyward already got hurt. And I saw you guys talking about that before I came on. Deontay Johnson got hurt. And you get in a situation where you could fall in a hole early, and it's hard to get out of a hole in this AFC North given how competitive it is. So San Fran we already knew was going to be a contender, and they came back. They paid Nick Bosa. That defense is elite. But I think it was very troublesome to see the Steelers, particularly their offense, not be able to have any luck moving the ball. They weren't able to run the ball. Najee Harris is supposed to be the guy in this backfield, but I haven't seen anything from him at all as a pro that gives me confidence that he can lead a top-end rushing attack. So Browns trending up, Steelers trending down.
I agree with you on Najee. I feel the same way about him that I did about Trent Richardson. Like, a lot of hype coming in. Everybody thought he was really good. He's not been any good. He's helped you in your fantasy team because they give him a lot of touches, but he doesn't do much with them. So I don't know. But I'll tell you a guy, I wanted to get back to the Browns defense because Grant Delpit is a guy who they drafted high, and for his first few years in the league, he did nothing. And then the second half of last year, I felt like he really turned it around and finally played the good football we expected him to play. And I thought he was great in this first game. We've talked about so many players, and he's without his running mate because Thornhill's hurt and not playing. He was all over the place. I thought he played great. What did you think about his game?
Yeah, that's one of the better games I've seen Grant Delpit play. And to your point, when I was talking pregame about the Browns and their secondary, I was talking a lot about their corners. And I was like, the question I have is their safety spot because, like you said, Delpit's been an unknown. And then you get the news in pregame that Juan Thornhill is out. And so I'm like, oh, wow, that's trouble when you have these receivers. You need somebody. And Grant Delpit made it a non-factor. If he elevates his game to the way he did this week, that's what gives me confidence the Browns can be a top 10 defense. And I'll tell you what, if you watch that game, it looked like the Bengals were confused offensively. And the reason you can be confused is if you feel great about your defensive scheme, and you have somebody in your back end like Grant Delpit who is running it people at the right spot, and you're in control. And so that's a key element people don't often realize. You think about the quarterback and the offensive play caller. You need that defensive play caller to be the guy who gets everybody lined up and everybody focused, and Grant did that for sure yesterday.
Cam, looking at the AFC, we looked at it as one of the most difficult divisions in the league. There's some shaky starts. Guy I'm a little sort of worried about is Josh Allen. I was at telling Bull, I said, it just seems he's playing a lot of playground football right now. Like he's giving the ball loose and fast with the football. What do you make of the Bills? I guess losing a game that they should have won on the road when Aaron Rodgers is gone for the season. Josh
Allen loves hero ball, man. That's his game. Like he's the quintessential guy where I don't know if you guys ever had a high school coach or college coach. My coach used to always hate when you ran plays outside of scheme. And he's the quintessential no. Oh crap! It worked out guy. Like he makes so many great plays where the decision making is not right that you almost give him unlimited rope. This was a game where you look on the other side and you say, Aaron Rodgers is out. Let's be conservative. Let's get some points. We get out of here with 20 points. And Josh Allen just could not do it. He leads the NFL in turnovers since he's been in the league. And I think that would surprise some people given that he's considered one of the elite quarterbacks. He just throws the ball to the other team. He's a very much a somebody's gonna catch this ball guy, and his playmaking ability makes up for it. But I would be very concerned if I was the Bills because I've talked to Brandon Beane, their general manager, about this. They've worked with him for multiple years on taking it down, chilling out a little bit. You don't have to be superhero. And week one, here he is being that guy once again. There was a play on third down where he's 3rd and 10 and he's like leaping in the middle of the field between two defenders and and he ends up 6 yards short of the first down. I'm like, what are you doing? Dude, like, this is week one. You're the starting quarterback.
That was dumb.
In fact, at one point during the telecast, Buck and Aikman were talking about how they had talked to Allen in the lead up to this game, and he had said himself, I can't go for the long ball home run downfield, yet he can't wash that out of his DNA.
You are who you are.
To me, it almost looks like, I'm not ready to say that it's going that far yet, but right now it looks like he's turning into Carson Wentz.
Nah, I don't
listen. I know it's one game, but listen. Hold on. Cameron said since he's been in the league, he's led the league in turnovers, and it's not one game.
Yeah, but he's also probably 5 in touchdowns or 3 in touchdowns.
Carson Wentz was on that trajectory too, and then all of a sudden it's like, what the hell happened to this guy?
Carson Wentz had like 3/4 of a great season.
This
guy's had 4 great seasons.
He was on pace to be an NFL MVP when he got hurt that year.
Yeah, that was 1 year.
No one at that point would have predicted that he was going to fall out.
Cam, tell Jay how crazy he is. Go ahead.
Well, Carson Wentz is a little strong here, but what I will say is when Carson Wentz. So when Carson Wentz started to go downhill was when he started to get hurt. He was one of the better quarterbacks in the league, like for a couple of years. Then he started to get hurt, and all of his skill set didn't translate as he came back. And so that's my worry for Josh. If he starts to slow down athletically and physically because of injuries, then that style of play is going to make him look like the most recent version of Carson Wentz.
He's typically the reason the Bills win. Last night, and there were times last year where he's the reason they lost, and he can't become that. Carson, before we let you go, we know that success and failure in the NFL is renewed almost every single week. Coming into this year, if you ask 100 NFL fans, give me the top 3 in the AFC, I think 95 of them would have had, in any order, Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati. All 3 racked up L's in week 1. I know we always say don't overreact on week 1, but right now that's all we have to go on. And I won't ask you to do the new power structure in the AFC because that gets too confusing. But after 1 week in the AFC North, what is your pecking order and how is that different from what was coming into the season?
I just think it's a lot closer. I still would probably give the Bengals the edge on the division. Sorry, Browns fans, because they've done it. And I'm always a believer of you got to beat the champ to be the champ. And so I don't think that would change based off one game. But I thought the Bengals might be heavy favorites in this division compared to what everybody else thought. I just thought there would be maybe 3 playoff teams. Now I think that margin looks a lot closer because of what I saw from the Browns defense. And I think the Browns should be – I think that there's a 1 still with the Bengals, but I think right there you have the Browns and the Ravens, and I think the Steelers are 4.
All right. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, Cam, before you go, you lost to Mikey McNuggets in pool? I mean, how did that happen?
I'm about to say, I kept seeing that
There's
bullet
no
point.
excuse
Still
for that.
champ, baby.
So here's the story that was not told. I won the first game that played against Ben Baby. Then we played a cutthroat game that I had never played before where if you scratch, you put balls back on the table. And so I felt like I was playing well, but I kept scratching, and so they kept putting their balls back on the table. So I did lose. We did lose. So I got to give them that.
Mikey, don't put your balls back on.
Yeah, come on, Mike. That's cheating, and you know it.
Especially in
I
public.
didn't put my balls on a table. Cam did.
Cameron, you're awesome,
Thanks,
man.
Cameron.
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you, fellas.
He's really good. I like his
I
insight.
like him
I
too,
like his
yeah.
style. He's very good from the NFL Network, formerly from ESPN. I know you guys are looking at me like I'm nuts on the Josh Allen thing.
No,
But
I
tell
said
you,
it.
I was saying last year.
I said it
this
last
guy
year,
is,
too.
something is wrong with this guy.
You know what it is? Brian Daboll is gone.
It could be.
No, it is.
No, I mean,
it ain't no could.
I'm sure there's something to that.
But his problem is that I said
Brian Daboll isn't in his head when he's deciding to throw into
I
triple
said
coverage.
this in May or June. I said, listen, I sound crazy, but I'm out on Josh Allen.
So you're
right
with
now.
me then?
Yeah, because
You're with him on Carson Wentz?
no, that's ridiculous.
crazy.
That's ridiculous. But what I'm saying is, for him, he needs help. He needs somebody else, as far as a running back or somebody that takes the ball out of his hand. Because it's up to him. He has to make the big play in his mind. If I don't make this big play, we're not going to win no games. Because I can't just hand the ball off to a running back that's going to do really well.
I just don't like the way
stuff
he's
like
trending.
that.
And Carson Wentz may be a little strong, but
It is.
I'm telling you, I had him as the elite quarterback in the AFC with Joe Burrow and with Patrick Mahomes. And right now, I don't think he belongs in that
He
class.
had 42 touchdowns last year.
How many
rushing
interceptions?
20 plus.
He led the
He had
league.
a lot of interceptions.
He led the
Bull.
league. in
They
picks.
said on the
14
broadcast
picks.
last
That's
night.
a lot of picks,
But he had
Bull.
42 touchdowns.
He
I
led
get
the
that.
league.
I get that. But he
But
can't
the year
be
before,
the reason
by the way,
they
the year
lose.
before that, he threw 15 picks when they went to the.
That's not
Jay,
Right,
they said on the
that's-
broadcast last night he has the most touchdowns ever for a player in his first 5 seasons. He's also tied with Jared Goff for the most turnovers in that span. So high
Right.
reward, high risk.
And that's what I'm saying. He can't be the reason the Bills lose.
He is,
and he has been too often.
He's
Yes.
much more often.
Last night, he was clearly the reason they
much
lost.
more often been the reason they've won than they.
He has to.
I'll agree with it. That's what I said. He's got to be the reason they win.
He got to take what Patty Mahomes had to learn this, and Tampa Bay did it when they did that too high safety thing and took away the deep ball, and Patty
Stop
Mahomes,
looking there.
He got to learn to do that.
Yes.
Like I got to kill
And it
you
sounds
with
like
the short game
Titus,
to
in
open up the
listening
deep
to
ball.
Buck and Aikman, They said that they had that conversation with him, and he readily knows.
can't help it.
I got to stop that.
played
Because
like crap.
you got that strong arm, and and many times in my
intoxicating.
career, I done zipped it past this dude many times and completed this ball.
Not anymore.
So I think to myself, I could always make that
He
throw.
got picked by the same guy 3 times.
There's still 26 to 28 teams that would rather have him as their
Keep throwing
quarterback.
picks, Josh Allen. What up, McNuggets? What you got?
Hey, real
I'm
quick,
with
before
you.
we get
Doing
into
it.
our PFF grade versus eye test experiment, if y'all haven't hit that like button, hit the like button. It's free. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button. It's free. It does wonders for us on the back end of the YouTube algorithm. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It's 2 clicks. It's free. It helps us out and helps us get you guys the best Browns, Cavs, and Guardians content on the market. And with that, Jay, I wanted to do this last year. We never got to it, and that's a bad job out of me. But we talk about PFF grades all the time.
Right.
Sometimes we take it as fact. Sometimes we look at it and go, I'm not sure that matched with the eye test. So we're going to go through the Browns, about 15 players from the Browns. Some I think we'll agree with. Some I think we're going to vehemently disagree with. So if we agree, we'll run through it pretty quickly. If we disagree, we'll say whether PFF was too harsh or too lenient with the grades.
Mike, why don't you give the fans who don't know what PFF is an idea? I'm sure most of our fans do, but an idea of what a good grade is and what a bad grade is, because maybe I don't know that all our audience knows that.
Yeah, it's out of 100. So a perfect score is obviously 100. For example, last year, Myles Garrett's season grade was 92.5. That was the highest rated defensive player grade in the entire league. If you're 70 or above, you're pretty good. If you're in the 55 to 69 range, and if you're below 55, you got some major question marks.
80s and 90s is a Pro Bowler type of player. 70s is good, solid player. 60s is kind of average. 50s is bad, and worse than that is horrible.
I look at 60s as D's.
I almost look at it as the grading scale.
Yeah,
right.
It's pretty in line. So
Like,
you guys
I know
ready?
that's a little harsh because if there's only 92.5 set the curve,
Yeah.
you know, that probably is a
there's
little harsh.
There's a little curve in there.
But I slide it down a little bit. But
Yeah.
to me, anything in the 50s,
Yeah.
I'm
Terrible.
concerned. I'm
Terrible.
concerned.
Bottom
about that.
line, higher score better, lower score worse.
Easy to.
All right, let's start with the quarterback then. Deshaun Watson scored 2 touchdowns, had an interception. He graded out, according to PFF, with a 66.8.
Which is
I
about
think that's about fair.
I'm about to say
that's a little above that. Now, what was just his passing grade? Do you have that?
If you give me 1 sec, I'll pull it up.
Because I think his running probably boosted that.
His passing grade is going to be in the low 50s.
High 40s.
He did turn it around and completed more than 50% of his passes. He was better in the second half.
No, he was
than the first.
63.1 passing, 66.9 rushing.
Okay.
Now, wait a minute. How can that be if he was 63?
Because it doesn't average out exactly. It's more passing plays that get graded. It's weighed per
Yeah, but
play,
that doesn't
not-
make any sense. Because,
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Because this is closer to his running grade than his passing
It's
grade.
almost exactly his running
Once
grade.
again, this
So
is PFF,
it's
not
almost
me.
as if they washed out his 63 passing grade.
I don't know. I don't know
It's
the
not me,
system.
not my
It's,
grade.
it's a pretty fair grade.
They can wait. They can,
I think it's fair. We
I
both
think there's
said he
weights.
was a D.
No, C. Oh,
No,
as a
no.
thrower.
His throwing
That
game
thrower
was a D.
Oh, yeah.
But he was brought up to a C
C,
because
right.
his run game was a B.
Right.
So that's
I look at a 66.8 as a D, as a C plus, but that's fine.
I got him at a C.
The good news with his passing game is he knew where to go with the ball. He just didn't make the throw.
well, that's half of the.
Half of it is knowing where to go.
Yeah. So at least
he
he
made
got
the
James
right
ahead of
read.
Josh Allen.
Okay.
But can we get Josh Allen's arm on that body?
I'll say this.
Josh
I
Allen
would-
would have made the
I
throw.
would have been more alarmed if Joe Burrow came out and threw for 300.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right, I would too.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh,
No,
listen.
great point.
If he had threw for 300, I'd have been like, oh, well, what was your excuse?
Everything we saw has to be graded on a curve.
The weather played a factor. There was another weather game that the quarterbacks didn't play well either.
And by the way, something that Cameron said, we talked about this yesterday. Cameron said that Zach Taylor said that's the biggest rain game he's ever coached in. We had said yesterday we didn't know what kind of weather that Joe Burrow had played in, but he certainly had played in other rainy days. This was the worst rain game that Joe Burrow has played in,
I guess so.
at least as a pro.
For comparison's sake, Josh Allen yesterday, a 49.1 PFF.
Oh, hold on.
The turnovers kill
According
your
to
PFF grade.
Curtis O'Leary, PFF on their website says 90 is elite, 80 is good, 70 is above average, 60 is average, 50 is below average, 40 is poor, and 30 is very poor.
Isn't that what we said?
Well, 90 is elite. So If you're anywhere in the 90s, it's elite. So
there is a Browns player who graded in the 90s this week.
So
we'll get to him at some point.
Do we want to right now guess who that was?
Martin Emerson.
Take a very quick guess because we got a bunch of these.
I'd say Nick Chubb.
Well, Nick Chubb's next. It's not Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb was the highest graded offensive player for the Browns.
Okay.
76.6.
Martin Emerson or Grant Delpit is my two guesses.
One of those is correct. We'll find out when we get to the defense.
Delpit.
Nick
Chubb,
Chubb,
76.6,
Okay,
highest
that's low.
graded player. He had a 58.9 pass block grade, which brought his overall.
Okay,
That's what knocks it down.
that's what brings him down.
And that's something we're not paying attention
No,
to.
we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, we look at it, we know that that is what it is.
He
If
said
a guy
it's
gets blown up on a play, you notice it. But
Yeah. And he doesn't get blown up, but there are times
Yeah.
that he doesn't completely handle his guys.
He's not a
guess
great
so.
pass blocker.
Not the
I mean,
best.
At least he
No.
wasn't this
I
week.
mean, I don't think no running back is a great pass blocker on a defensive lineman.
Oh, okay.
I mean, hell,
I'm about to
that's
say.
a tough ass.
I'm about to say.
That's
I know.
a huge
I know a
That's a
dude.
tough
I know a
ass.
dude
Yeah,
who at Ohio State that was the best pass blocker I've ever seen in my life.
Who?
His name is Ezekiel
Yeah,
Elliott.
Zeke. Although he's not good
Zeke
as a
never
center.
lost.
He's not good as a center.
Not as a center. That no. I don't think you can. He learned that snapping the ball and blocking is
Go ahead,
not.
It's a
Mike.
whole
What's
different
next?
thing.
So we're all good with Nick
Got
Chubb.
a drop kick.
Pretty on par. Okay,
Yeah,
next
it
up.
should be
I would have
higher.
graded him higher.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I would have graded him higher.
Jerome Ford had 15 carries. He had a 51.5
Yeah, he was lousy.
PFF
He-
grade.
He
That's
fumbled that
fair.
ball and that kind
He
of
looked
messed
he
a lot
looked pretty
up.
useless in this game. It's one
Yeah.
game, but
No. I
had a
wouldn't
nice
say
run.
that.
He had a nice
He had a
run.
couple of decent
That's
runs.
nice.
my
Nice
opinion,
runs.
he looked useless.
I
in
can
this
see.
game. I'm
I
saying
can
it's one
see
game.
the burst. He got a burst to him.
Yeah,
he got a little
couple-
burst to
couple-
him when he
I
hit that
thought
There's
was
one
outside.
hesitant.
really nice run where we did see the burst.
Yeah.
I thought he looked hesitant.
He just fumbled that ball. That's the bad.
Well,
that was
that's
work.
other than that,
Turnovers
Mrs. Lincoln, how
kill
did
your
you enjoy the
PFF
play?
grade. That's no doubt.
Jay, will you cut it out?
How was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
And I bet you his blocking went crazy either.
No.
Well, I don't think nobody.
So we're all good with that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fair.
Amari Cooper, the highest graded receiver for the Browns, a 70.3 PFF grade.
I feel like
About
he,
right, too
I
high,
feel like
too
he
low.
didn't really do a lot.
They're basing that on like his. How do they base that? I don't know. Like I only pay attention to PFF for the linemen. That's it. Offensive, defensive. linemen.
Because our eyes, we can judge what the other guys
Yeah.
are doing. I
But
agree with that.
I don't know. I guess if he wins the route, but the ball doesn't get thrown to him, then it counts as a positive grade. But the only problem I have with PFF, and I love it and I use it, is they don't know the play call.
True.
They don't know what a guy's supposed to do on a play.
So here's the thing. So say, for instance, Tyvus, right? Mm-hmm. If Tyvus played in the league, right?
I did.
And they go 3 receivers to the right side, there's only so many combinations they can have.
Mm-hmm.
And generally speaking, those combinations stay true based on if that guy ran, if number 2 ran this, number 1 was going to probably run this.
Correct.
So usually they can tell you what the route was supposed to be based on the coverage and kind of based on what the route combination is. That's how they guess. Now, is it
All
going
right.
to be perfect?
It's a right.
No.
That's true. It's a guess.
Tyvus, you've played it. You've looked at these PFF grades. How much stock should we put into these grades?
Not a lot. I mean, I think it's good for linemen because it is hard to judge alignments from now. But everything else is an eye test.
Yeah, I
mean,
agree.
Because it's hard because you don't know the assignment of certain people. Like the one game that I played, the Oakland versus San Fran game, I did everything 100% correct, and I graded somewhere in the 60s, and I think that's absurd.
Yeah.
That was absurd
But
that I graded.
Like even an offensive lineman, like if I'm the left tackle and the play is for the tight end to chip the pass rusher and he doesn't do his job, so I get boat raced, well, I'm going to take up the blame for that in the PFF grade.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I
He
think
is
there
too,
are
though.
flaws in it for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But it's
something
good.
to talk about.
It
It's
has
fun.
value.
Now, McNuggets tells me that the defense is where things really get interesting with these
boy.
grades.
Yeah, so we're going to run through the last couple offensive players, then we'll get to the defense.
Go ahead.
Wyatt Teller, who we singled out yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
Jason did a whole expose on how his block was kind of the key on the Deshaun Watson touchdown run.
Right.
He graded out with a 65.5. That felt a little low to me just looking at it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like he got beat or anything, and he did spring a nice block.
If you give up front, see, it's different. Up front, if you give up a pressure, that counts.
Yeah.
Up front, if your guy spills off late and gets a piece of a tackle,
That's the case.
That's that you get hit on that too. The offensive line is difficult because you're graded on just basically, all right, it's these dudes nullified or not.
Yeah.
If they get pressured, if they in the backfield, if you take a step or
Right.
so they knock you in it. So here's the thing: when you play in a running game, the running game is always going to have lower numbers. When I played offensive line, it's more difficult because there's more room for error when you're saying, okay, I'm supposed to double team this guy to the backside linebacker. Well, you can have a great job on the double team, right? And then you go to get to the outside linebacker, and he just beats you to the spot.
Right.
Well, then you get a mark down because you were supposed to get that guy and you didn't. So it's difficult. On pass pro, it's, hey, did I dominate my guy or not? Did I give up a pressure? So it's easier to grade it on the pass game rather than the run game. Browns ran a lot. It was raining a lot, so we don't know exactly what his assignment was past his initial contact up front.
Right.
Joel Bitonio graded out at a 76. He was the highest graded offensive lineman
Always
for the
gets a high
Browns.
grade.
The two tackles, though, are where I want to focus before we switch to the defense. Dawand Jones,
Yeah, I'm
in
curious
his limited
about
playing
this.
time,
I want to see it.
a 49.7.
Ooh, damn.
Once again, these are PFF grades. This is not McNuggets grades. These
No,
are
but
PFF
it's all we have.
grades.
It's all we have.
It's so funny because, like, we're watching the game. We're like, wow, it seems like he did a good job.
Well,
They never called his name.
Jason said yesterday that he
The team
checked
was
around in
concerned.
the locker room, and there are guys and in key positions that are concerned about this.
Yeah.
And so they
Well,
obviously.
I was concerned that the Browns wasted a boatload of money on Jack Conklin.
Yeah, that's a bigger concern. But that horse
But
is out of
anyway,
the
yeah,
barn.
that's not great.
I will say, the only thing that I kind of was a little alarming to me, but it's not nothing to be big worried about, is that they did, when he came into the game, they did try to run the ball to the right a number of times.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't no push from that offensive line. on
Well,
that right
yeah,
side.
And that's a great-
couple
real
times
quick-
I'm thinking of. They ran to the short side, right side.
Yeah.
The next play they called the same thing, and there was nothing there again. And
Yeah.
Chubb decided to
Clear
cut
it
it back
back, yeah.
and made a nice gain.
So-
And PFF, for the record, Dawand Jones' pass blocking grade, 77.8.
Okay.
His run block grade, 38.4.
Yeah, see, that's what
Wow.
I'm saying. The run, I did notice him in the run because he's so
Okay.
big, and I'm like, if he's that big, why can't they? They should be able to just
But let's-
run to his side.
Let's focus on the pass block grade for a second.
Well, that's
that
good.
is
Very impressive.
very, very good pass block
Yeah.
grade.
It's all
And that's
from the
what we
80s.
really want here. I mean, obviously, you've got a guy, Nick Chubb, that can erase a lot of mistakes by linemen.
That's
because
true.
so often you'll see it. Nick starts to the hole and says, no, not there. Put his foot in the dirt and cut it back against the grain, and that's when he's, to me, at his
Yeah.
most dangerous.
Well, nobody's a better decision maker at the running back position.
I
man.
agree with that.
There's a lot to be said. You know, when you come in and you're a player, right? You say, okay, if you in the second unit, how many times does he play with the first unit guys? Because usually what happens if you play, they put you in tandems. They got the inside run, which is the center and the two guards. Outside, they got the tackle, tight end, and tackle, tight end, and the guard.
And the guard, yeah.
And so what you working is combinations. Okay, how do I know when I can feel when you got this guy if I'm helping you, and
Yeah.
I could go to the next level?
Yeah.
Like how
Is
do I?
some of that just innate feel, or some of it you can learn as you
It's
go?
reps. It's
Yeah,
reps.
you gotta have that
You gotta
chemistry
have
with each
chemistry.
other.
You gotta. That's why offensive linemen
So
do
we'll cut him
everything
some
together.
slack on that. I mean, this is a new
Still,
thing.
but still, as big as he is, as strong as he is, like Nick, he should get some push.
What
at
he,
the
what he,
least,
what
like,
he, what he should
think.
do, and what
you,
Wyatt
that's what I'm
tell-
saying, you would think.
what
Yeah.
Wyatt Teller would tell him is, look, if you are mistaken and you don't know, find somebody and
Yeah.
put them on the ground.
Well,
Right,
I mean,
right.
that's and in the same breath, it's like Wyatt Teller can't go to the next level
Right.
until I know
Until
you
I-
got it.
Right,
I can't
exactly,
leave you.
exactly.
So what it's doing is if he's getting beat or they're getting pushed back,
Yeah.
Wyatt Teller is stuck on this double
Right, and
team,
then he can't
and
get-
now it's stopped right there. Now Nick Chubb is stopping and cutting back.
I
'cause
want
he
to say
can't go
Jed
nowhere.
Wills before. I know we got to.
And that is next.
Yeah.
Jed Wills, Dawand Jones had a 49.7. He was not the lowest graded tackle, according to PFF on
Not
the
a
Browns.
surprise.
That honor belonged to Jed Wills, who graded out at a 44.3. His splits, a 58.1 pass block grade, a 36.6 run block grade.
That's even worse.
And
Yet,
then- and
yet
then-
our run game
That's
was
bad.
exceptional.
That's bad.
And that's why I keep saying to a lot of people, you hit on it. It's a lot of this stuff is just Nick Chubb.
Yes.
It's a lot of
You
it
know, his
is.
nickname should be the eraser.
Well,
lot-
the middle three do their job, but
I mean, but when you
But when
middle
there's
three all
nothing there,
graded
how
out
many
very,
times have
very
we
well.
seen Chubb
Yeah, he's
stop
great.
at the line and he just says, no, there's nothing there, and he does it like you said,
Yeah.
at warp speed. He's a great decision maker, and he'll just cut back against the grain, and how many times have we seen him take that for long distances?
he makes up for.
You said his run grade is what?
30.
I mean, think about
It was
that.
38.
Both of their tackles had 30 run grades, and Nick Chubb had
Average
second.
5.9 yards per carry.
What did he finish second this week
Are
in
you
rushing yards?
Are you
Third.
Are you
Third.
insinuating that they should give him his $16 million next year?
No. But I'd find a way to
He's going to get a lot of money next year. He may not get that number, but he's going to get a lot of money.
Here's the problem I got. We got selective morality when we talk about stuff. Like, seriously, his grades have been that way 3 years. I love Jason to death. Jason is absurd if he calls him average.
I know, he keeps saying
He's
that.
absurd. I don't know if him and Jason got a 3-team parlay going.
I'm with you.
I'm confused because I'm not, Dawand Jones, we talked about him like not knowing where he's going to go. He's a rookie who has not getting first-team reps, and they put him in. How can you not outplay the rookie?
Wait a minute.
And he's been here 4 years with the same line.
Wait a minute.
Jedrick
Hold on.
Stinks. That's the end of the comment.
Wait a minute.
That's it. He stinks.
Who was lined up across from Jedrick Wills?
Henderson.
Okay.
Well, that has something to do with it.
So, don't do that now.
Yeah,
Sam Hubbard
don't do
garbage.
that. But
Sam Hubbard ain't garbage.
Who you taking?
Look,
Go Bucks too, Sam. I love you to death. Who you taking?
Hendrickson, of course.
Okay, so don't act like.
But that's the job, though.
I get that. No, you're
That's
right.
why the left tackle's making more money than the
You're
right
100% correct by that. But I'm just saying.
Jedrick Wills is not good enough at his job. Bottom line.
And
All right, let's get to the defense because that's where Mikey tells us that we're going to be shocked.
Yeah, so we're gonna get the obvious ones out the way real quick. Of
right.
all the Browns players, 23 got snaps on defense.
Probably Myles Garrett.
Only 3 graded under a 50. Only 3. I don't have a graph this. Just real quick. I
Calvin
didn't think of this till
Thomas.
right now. Guess who didn't grade? Guess who graded the lowest of
We
everyone?
don't
on
have time to
defense?
guess, Mike. Show us.
Jordan
Well,
Elliott.
I don't have a graph.
I was going to say Jordan Elliott.
Jordan
It is Jordan Elliott. He graded out a 39.1.
He's trash.
Okay.
We've known that for a while.
Let's start with Grant Delpit. The guy Tyvis predicted would have a
That's
9.
my man.
Wow.
Hey,
Come on
I'll
now.
give it to you.
That's
That's you love, baby.
I give you
This
that.
week.
Hey,
I was already knowing.
He played his tail off.
No, he did.
He
was
was
great.
he was covering. He looked like one of those safeties that was like the AFC North safeties. He was just everywhere, knocking the football down. He wasn't giving no yak yards. That was the most impressive thing to
Well,
me.
Yeah,
barely
you're
had
right.
any
You're right.
catches,
I mean, so few catches, but
Yeah.
when the
None.
receiver caught the ball, with one exception, he was dropped where he caught it within a yard or two.
He
Well,
played great. He seemed like he was all over the place, and that great tells you.
Well, I told y'all coming into this season, he was the guy that I was worried about. Not worried about, but I wanted to see because it's a contract year. And when you think about Jim Schwartz with the Eagles, who did he have? Malcolm Jenkins. Malcolm Jenkins was with best safety he's ever coached. He would tell you. So I said, if that's the case, Dale Pitt has to be that for the Browns. He has to be able to blitz. He has to be able to cover. And it's not just tight ends. You got to be able to cover wide receivers. Dale Pitt, you keep playing like this, you better go in there and you talk to Andrew Berry, you put a suit on and you tell him you want that high paid
he's
number.
going to get paid, not by the Browns, but
Hey,
No,
listen,
I hope he doesn't leave.
I need that. If
Yeah.
you gonna play like this,
I did. You go in there, you
with all the
call
guys
your
they're paying. They can't afford to pay.
you
a ton
play.
of
You
money for a
continue to
safety.
grade out like this, and you make plays where you effective on blitzes. You can cover number 1 or 2 receivers and actually be effective. And you stone in runners. Tell them to pay you.
Nice job. One. Let's get through this season before we worry about his paycheck.
I said
who's
you
next?
got to do it for 16 games, 16 more games.
So I'm just to tell you guys, Darius Smith, 90.5 PFF grade.
Wow.
Myles Garrett, 89.9. So those guys, both phenomenal. They looked phenomenal.
So Smith,
and then
wait,
they were
Smith graded
phenomenal
higher
on-
than
by-
Myles Garrett?
by 0.6%. But
Wow.
yes. So let's go to the
very
next one.
impressive.
Greg
Shoo!
Newsome. We'll start with the DBs. Greg Newsome graded out a 79.8 grade. Does that
Very
check
good.
out?
I like that. That's 80.
good. Yeah, that's good.
That's 80.
I would
like
have thought it'd be a little bit higher than that, though.
For him to be in the
That's
slot,
excellent.
you know,
we'll
him,
take it.
he's
I think the exact number is irrelevant. It's just in the ballpark that it is. But, you know,
They tell me
for a guy that just
good.
learned
That's
the
really
nickel
good.
position last year, he's still getting accustomed to it, and he was still making plays. He had a nice PBU that I loved. I was like, that was great. So he's getting accustomed to it. I think
We got
that's
the
a
wrong
fair-
number jersey on him, though. That's last year's picture.
Yeah.
Definitely is.
Hey, look, he
need
keep
to
playing.
update that to
I ain't got
go.
no
Let's
problem
go.
with
Zero.
none of them DBs. None
All
of
right.
them.
So we had that. Next up, Steve, we're going from Newsome to Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward
Higher.
graded out at a 56.
that
Wow.
seems crazy to me.
That seems crazy.
That's absurd.
Wow.
Did he miss some tackles?
That's absurd.
He had a pass interference one time.
Yeah, that hurt.
What's the breakdown of his grade?
He
Mike?
did get his ankles broken on the big run by Mixon. Was that the play that he looked like he committed the wrong way?
Yeah, he looked like he
There
was.
was a play where I felt he should have made an open field tackle, and he got
He got dinged in
Dinged pretty
PFF
hard.
for his tackling. He had a 55.4 run defensive grade, a 44.2 tackling grade, and a 57.8 coverage grade.
I'm not.
I don't worry about the tackling.
I'm not.
He ain't got to tackle nobody.
Yeah,
we got boys for that.
This is a guy that just came off a concussion, so
cool
that's on his mind. You don't want to put your face in too much.
I ain't buying what they're selling.
As the season goes on, he got to.
I'm not here.
He will, but we need.
No, I don't agree with the grade. I'm saying I thought he played way better than that.
I agree.
I'm trusting my eyes over the stupid PFF grade.
Yeah,
we have two more.
Denzel, you good, bro.
Two more before we bring in our favorite Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com. How about Martin
There's
Emerson
a lot of
Jr.?
Mary Kay Cabots out there, but she's our favorite one.
No, the one of Cleveland.com who covers the Browns is by far our favorite MKC in the world. But Martin Emerson Jr. targeted 6 times.
I would say
one catch.
Mid to high 80s.
Steve? What does PFF say?
Fraud!
Oh,
that's a fraud grade.
Cut it
Come
off. I'm done with it. I'm done with it.
Yeah, I haven't seen him
Bring
play
in Mary
better,
Kay.
and
I'm
he
done
played
with it.
great last year.
I'm done with it. That's absurd.
Hey, if they
secondary numbers,
I'll take them 62s. Anytime they gonna keep playing like that, give me the 62s.
You know, when the teacher hands the test back and you see the 62 and you're like, well, that sucks. And then they put the bell curve on the board.
Yeah.
And you find out that the A grade is anything above 60.
Yeah,
then you're like, oh, okay, I'll take it.
The smartest girl in the class got a 68.6, and you're like, oh yeah, we
gonna grade
I mean,
this
he
on
was
the
one of the
curve.
big reasons that Joe Burrow threw for a career low 82 yards, and you're going to do him like that?
Cut it out.
He was running
That's
around.
I'm telling you,
Yeah,
PFF.
we done.
He was
What
running
was
around
Joe
scoring.
Burrow's grade? A 4?
It had to be the lowest.
I'll look up Joe Burrows. We have one more before we bring on Mary Kay.
No, we're done.
JOK, real quick. I thought JOK played a pretty solid game. He was over, made some plays.
Yeah.
Only grade out is a 51.9.
That's absurd.
You thought he played
What was
well?
McLeod?
He played well.
Joe Burrow's grade, well, I pull it up. Joe Burrow,
2.
I'm scrolling down, a 43.
Yeah, that's bad. I thought. Well, he didn't have turnovers. That's why it's not even lower.
Yeah.
That was the only thing he didn't do.
And defensively for the Bengals, Jermaine Pratt graded out the highest.
Oh, I'm sure he
tremendous.
did.
Nowhere near
God, he
anyone
was
on the
everywhere.
Browns.
My goodness.
Just running
And
around.
with that, we have officially
Tackling
debunked
everybody.
PFF grades as scripture. Sometimes your eye test tells you a little bit better. And before we bring on our favorite Mary Kay Cabot, I want to let you guys know that Behind the Glass is coming back this week to dissect the Browns' win over the Bengals, preview the Browns' Week 2 matchup with the Steelers, and get you caught up on everything else you need to know around the NFL. It is myself, it is Anthony, it is Earl Pearl, talking all things Browns and Cleveland sports. The next episode of Behind the Glass will debut at some point this week. We got to figure out the time. We have not finalized that yet, but we are back again for another episode. And with that, it is not Mary Kay Cabot of anywhere else but Cleveland.com, and she joins us now on a Victory Tuesday. What's up, Mary Kay?
Hey guys, how you doing?
What'd you think of those PFF grades, Mary Kay?
You know, sometimes the PFF grades seem so off to me, and I think there are certain positions where they do a better job than others, but sometimes it just doesn't seem to match up with what we are seeing with our own two eyes, and they come out so fast, too. It's hard to believe that they can really evaluate all of that film so quickly. And so, I think sometimes you have to take them with a grain of salt. I know the players do.
Yeah, I mean, they have some value, certainly. And to be fair, those guys, I don't know about you, Mary Kay, but those guys are watching every play, whoever's doing the analysis. I'm not going back and studying what every player did on every play like I assume they are, but I don't know. But one player I know that played well both by our eyes and by the PFF grade, we'll start with him, and that's Myles Garrett. He wasn't actually the highest-rated guy, but, man, he was feeling himself, and he had such an impact on this game. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen him. Like, he's obviously had great games, but he was so confident, so cocky. He was, like, thrilled, the kid in the candy store, to have all that talent around him, and he was tremendous leading the way on Sunday.
Yeah, he really was. And I think that, number one, I think he loves Jim Schwartz. I think Jim Schwartz's old school attack-minded mentality is sitting really, really well with Myles. I think he feels like he's got plenty of control in this defense to do what he kind of wants when he wants to. I think he's going to do some really cool things. Like you saw him, stand up and line up over the center. I think he'll be inside, he'll be outside, he can find favorable matchups, and he should be able to really make, finally, a really strong run for NFL Defensive Player of the Year. If he can't do it in this defense with this defensive coordinator, then I don't know when it'll ever happen, because it seems poised to happen this year.
I said the same thing. Mary Kay, obviously Jack Conklin went down. What's the feeling with Dawand Jones going in at tackle and just the tackle situation, period?
Well, the tackle situation, period, this is an accelerated development, obviously, for Dawand Jones, and he's got to put the big boy pants on. He's got to get out there. Not only does he have to make his first NFL start in Pittsburgh, but he's got to face TJ Watt. What a way to begin your NFL career. But so it is, and that's going to happen on September 18th. The thing about Dawand Jones, and I will be writing more about this over the next couple of days, is the fact that he really wants to be great, and he's worked really, really hard. I've watched him very closely throughout all of training camp. I watched him throw up on the first day of rookie minicamp. I've watched almost everything else that has happened with him since then, and I've seen a lot of growth. I've seen a lot of development. He still has a ways to go. Sometimes he has to learn how to use that size, even more effectively. You can't bend and move the way some smaller guys can, and so he's going to have to figure out how to use his size as even more of an asset. But I do think that you will see him get better and better week by week because he's got the desire.
Mary Kay, G and I have been crushing Jedrick Wills. I know you've defended him. Jason on our show has defended him a lot. We both thought he played a terrible game this past week, and I know he was looking for injury there. How concerned are you about him? Or are you still confident he can at least be average? And is there any injury concern with him?
There is no injury concern for him apparently heading into the game, or at least, the x-rays on whatever he had x-rayed were negative. Again, that doesn't always mean anything, of course, when you're dealing with soft tissue issues as well. But when I asked Kevin Stefanski about the injury risk for Wills, he said there wasn't anything really to worry about and that he will be playing in this game. He did not have a great game against the Bengals, and he's going to have to take it up a notch in this next game. And he doesn't have a whole long time to really prove himself. He's got this year, and he is under contract next year for the guaranteed rate of $14.175 million in his fifth-year option year. So it's not like this is his make or break year. I've seen that written and talked about before, but it's not really necessarily his make or break year. But they do need to see more out of him for him to continue to be the starting left tackle of the Cleveland Browns. And I had been thinking that if it didn't go the way they wanted it to go, that maybe Dawand would contend opportunity there. But now, of course, he's got to start on the right side. Let's see how it goes. If it doesn't work out, why not try flip-flopping those guys and see if you can't get more out of Jed on the other side?
I like that. I like that feeling. Mary Kay, when you look at it with Deshaun Watson, I think 154 yards, 40-some odd yards on the ground, is the feeling that Kevin Stefanski believes that a lot of it was due to the rain? Because there was some balls that Deshaun really skipped, balls that came up 5 yards short, 3 yards short here or there. I said earlier, I try not to look at it through a lens of it was just him, because Joe Burrow had one of his worst games of his life too, and they played in the same environment. Are the Browns a little nervous about that, or do they think that was just a weather game and he'll be ready to go?
I think they are attributing it mostly to the rain and, maybe giving him a little bit of a pass for this week. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going to say, you know what? Neither quarterback handled the elements very well. It was a weird, misty rain. It never stopped. It never let up. You didn't have a moment to get the ball dry. The hands were wet. The ball was heavy. And so I'm going to attribute it to that and to a few other things, such as, he was off a couple times with Marquise Goodwin. Let's remember that Marquise Goodwin missed all of training camp with blood clots. So it might take those two guys a little time to get their deep ball mojo down together. But for this particular game, I'm willing to give Deshaun mostly a pass, not all, but mostly a pass for the weather. Now he's got to come out in the next game, correct those mistakes, figure out what was going wrong. I heard him say somewhere that he was trying to grip the ball too tightly, so he was overcompensating because of the rain. So, so let's see if he can't get that right in the next game.
Mary Kay, Pittsburgh comes in dinged. What will the loss of Johnson on the offensive side and Heyward on the defensive side, will that change at all what the Browns do? How will that impact the game Monday night?
Well, Cam Heyward, the great defensive tackle out of Ohio State, has always been a thorn in the Browns' side. He's had tremendous games against the Browns. He's got over 11.5 sacks against the Cleveland Browns. He has, forced fumbles, swatted down passes. In the last game, the season finale last season against Deshaun, he had 2 sacks. I think he batted down a pass. He had like 8 tackles or something like that. He kind of had a monster game. And, he obviously would have been looking for more of the same. He loves getting up against the Cleveland Browns and playing them and trying to beat them. And I think his record is something like 15-4 or whatever against the Browns. And so, it is a big break, I think, for the Browns not to have to face Cam Heyward. Now, having said that, of course, they're without their own all-pro right tackle in Jack Conklin, so there's a little bit of an offset there. So we'll have to see how that goes. But Cam always has huge games against the Browns. I think he would have helped make it very difficult for Deshaun Watson.
Mary Kay, last week we didn't get to see a key acquisition from the Cleveland Browns and Juan Thornhill. Do you know the status of him, if he will be able to play this week against Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I think he'll be able to play because obviously they have an extra day, and he also tried to play on Sunday against the Bengals. So if you're going to try to play against the Bengals, you should certainly be able to play the next time out. And, as long as he doesn't have any setbacks, if he goes out there and practices and doesn't re-injure it and kind of takes it easy a little bit, then I think he should be okay.
Very good. We asked Cameron, we had a reporter from the NFL Network on in the first hour, and we asked him if what he saw in Week 1 changed his thinking of the hierarchy in the AFC North. And I know obviously your focus is on the Browns exclusively, but you saw what happened to Pittsburgh. You saw what Baltimore was able to do. And we don't want to overreact, but
yes, you do.
You
want to overreact.
Well, it's all we have, Bull. I mean, it's all we have. How, if at all, did what happened in Week 1 change your view of the AFC North?
I headed into the season saying that the Browns should either win the AFC North or get a wild card spot, win at least 11 games, and go deep into the playoffs. So it didn't change how I felt about the Browns by any stretch of the imagination. I really did feel like this was a year that they were going to be a lot better. They were going to make a lot of noise. I think, I looked at the Cincinnati Bengals and I thought, the Browns just did so much more to get better, to improve themselves in the offseason. And I thought they were going to make a run for it heading in, and I still feel that way.
Yeah. Boy, J.K. Dobbins tearing the Achilles for the Ravens and the Steelers coming out. Obviously against a very good Niners
team. The Ravens
team,
had an injury. I don't think it's that big a deal to me, because he hasn't been a factor for them much.
No, but he was a guy they were counting on heavily this year.
Yeah, I don't know that. How could you count on him heavily? He never stays healthy.
You're starting running back. You
count
heavily on your starting running back.
They have other backs there that have experience.
They do, and they've said they're not going to go out and pick someone up on the market.
They have three other veteran backs, including Melvin Gordon there. I don't know how much he's got left in the tank, but in terms of the Bengals and Steelers,
he's out of gas.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not going to change my opinion on any of these teams. I thought I had predictions for all these teams when the season started. I'm not going. The only team I've changed my mind on in the NFL after Week 1 is the Jets, because Aaron Rodgers is out for the year. So to me, unless I thought the Browns were going to be good, I still think the Browns are going to be good. I don't think they're going to be better because of how they played in Week 1. I certainly don't think they're going to be worse. No, it's one game. You can't allow. I think it's a mistake.
Based on what I don't want to take up Mary Kay's time here with this discussion, but based on what we saw out of that defense and the atrocity that we saw out of the defense last year.
Right, but it's 1 week. It's not enough of a sample size.
It doesn't move your meter at all?
It doesn't.
Still locked on exactly where it was?
I already thought they were going to be a lot better defensively.
Yeah.
I mean, I picked them to go 10-7. They won 7 games last year. That's a pretty huge improvement.
It is.
Okay, Mary Kay, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Good.
So we can stop this. Jerome Ford, we didn't get a chance to see him in the preseason. Obviously, he comes out there in the regular season game, has a little fumble, but for the most part, how did you like his game?
You know what? I think Jerome is going to get better week by week. He missed most of training camp with a hamstring injury. And I'll tell you, I haven't seen many guys miss most or all of training camp and just waltz right in and have a good early part of the season. Sometimes it lingers on throughout the whole entire season. So he did not handle that well. The fumble, you can't be doing that. But I think he will get better as the weeks go by. And I think that we saw Nick Chubb do some of the things that we thought he was going to do, like catch the ball out of the backfield and stay in there more on third down. I think this is a work in progress. It will evolve over time, and Jerome can grab more of those old Kareem Hunt type reps as the weeks go by.
Okay, and then another guy whose name I don't even think got called one time, or if he did, I missed it. David Njoku. They paid him top 5 tight end money. Obviously, I know the weather was a part of it, but moving forward, do we see more of him? Does he look like that top 5 tight end this season?
You know what? I think he does. I really believe that he's going to flourish with Deshaun Watson. Now, it will be different week to week, depending on the game plans. But, I've said this so many times before, and now it's time, for me to back it up, too, that I believe that he is an 8 touchdown a year tight end with a quarterback like Deshaun Watson. So, if he doesn't do that this year, then I'll be having to eat my words, because that's what I feel like he's capable of, when he can sky, the ball in the end zone and in the red zone and just tower over some of these smaller defensive backs. And I think he's been catching the ball better. So I still think he's going to have a good year.
Mary Kay, I look around the league every year, and I think it comes down to a mindset. And we can go back on the past and say what teams did this year or last year. I look around the AFC, and yes, there's some good teams out there, but you just look down the list of teams, and everybody seems to have a flaw. Kansas City has Travis Kelce out. They got a bunch of young guys they're trying to work into the mix. They did get Chris Jones back, which was a big one, coupled with the one-year deal. But you look at the other teams, the Jets, obviously, down Aaron Rodgers. You look across the Patriots. Okay, the Patriots are Patriots, right? The Dolphins look like they have a really good offense, but I don't know how much they're going to, stop people. They're giving up a lot of points. And I just look around, Burrow, we saw that. We saw what was going on in Pittsburgh. I'm looking at the AFC and being like, look, if you can go in and beat a Pittsburgh team, and you can put 2 up in the division with an opportunity to play the Ravens, I think that's a big opportunity that the Browns have not had in a very long time, to look up and possibly say we can win 2, go up 2-0, and then play the Ravens for 3. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, you know what? I think the Browns can beat, anyone in the NFL right now. I mean, there's not a team that I look at and think that they have no chance against that team. I think when you build so tough through the lines, the offensive line and the defensive line, that's going to give you time to throw the ball. That's going to allow you to run the ball, and it's going to allow you to get to the quarterback. I think it's been a great strategy. It was sort of what it's sort of what the Eagles have done. Really, really good offensive line, really, really good defensive line. It makes it so that you can be in any game, that you can win any game. And, when I look out there, I just don't see a team that they can't beat. And I do think, as of right now, like I said, I picked them to go 11-6. I still feel pretty good about that. We'll see how it goes. Again, you can't overreact to the first week, but I think they're going to go into Pittsburgh and win that game. I think they're better than the Steelers. I think the Steelers, they don't, as we talked about, they don't have Deontay Johnson now. They don't have Cam Heyward. They got kind of beat up by the 49ers. Now, they do usually come back after a loss like that and rebound, but I think the Browns are just going to, I think they're going to kind of take it to them.
Mary Kay, bold prediction, and I'm putting you on the spot. At the end of this season, Martin Emerson, will he be viewed as a CB1 or CB2 of this team, or do you think he continues to be looked at as the 3rd best corner on this team?
Oh, you know what? I think he can challenge for CB1. I think he can actually challenge for CB1. He's going to be really good. I talked to him the other day, and I said, I've written this. I see Pro Bowl potential in him. I don't know if it'll happen this year or not. He almost got an interception in this game, but he was out of bounds. So I think he can be a dominant cornerback. He's got tremendous size, and now he's got all these guys around him. I don't know if he's got stiff competition from Denzel and Greg, but I think he can make a serious run at cornerback 1.
We like that.
Mary Kay.
Mary Kay, thanks. Great stuff. We'll talk next week.
Appreciate you.
Sounds great. Thanks.
I want to go back to the conversation that you and I were having about at what point, Bull, do you start to make changes? Because we know that the standings at the end of this year aren't going to be what they were last year.
Right.
There's going to be surprise teams. There's going to be surprise disappointments. How many games, like is it the quarter pole of the season?
That's when I
will you start to change your opinion?
I would say probably quarter pole.
Yeah.
Let me give you some week 1 results last year.
Okay.
Okay. Steelers beat the Bengals. Joe Burrow threw 4 picks. 49ers lost to the Bears. Bears finished with the worst record in the NFL.
They lost to the Bears.
49ers lost to the Bears.
Now, what was the deal with they did not have Christian McCaffrey yet?
No, and they also had
their
Jimmy
quarterback
G as
was
quarterback.
Garoppolo, right?
Yeah.
Or was it? I don't know that.
No,
Garoppolo,
it was Garoppolo.
Did he start the season last year? I thought he came in.
I thought Trey Lance
I think
started.
Trey Lance got hurt in the game.
I thought
actually,
Trey
it was Trey Lance.
Yeah, Trey Lance
and
started.
then he got hurt. They lost to the Bears, the worst team in football. The Eagles won, but they gave up their defense, which was the best in football last year, gave up 35 points in that game.
Who'd they beat?
The Lions.
Wow, the Lions put up 35 on the Eagles last year.
The Jaguars, who played great the second half of the year and one of the hottest teams
They were
at the end
horrible
of
the first
season,
half.
lost to the Commanders. The Chargers barely beat the Raiders, and the Cowboys scored 3 points against the Buccaneers. So I'm not saying, just ignore what happened.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I thought the Browns were going to be a good football team coming in.
I'm just surprised that what you said was nothing that happened in week 1 changed the way you view any of this.
Except for the Aaron Rodgers injury, something like that. Something dramatic like that. No, because I've watched football for 50 years. I understand that week 1 is not who you are. Now, in some cases, it may turn out to be. Like, if we're 4 or 5 weeks in and the Browns defense is playing like it did against the Bengals every single week and just suffocating teams every single week, well, yeah, then I'm going to boost the Browns up a little more.
Sure, but you need to see
do that.
You
after
need to
1
see
week.
4, maybe 6, maybe 8 games.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with every other team that got off. It's not just the Browns. Like the Cowboys looked amazing in their game.
Yeah.
The Rams, who everybody thought were going to be terrible this year, they look great.
You buying the Lions?
Am I going to? I'm buying the Lions to the same degree I bought them before the season. I thought they would be a wild card team. I thought they'd be a decent team. They'd be like a 9-win team.
You don't think they'll win the division, though? Who's going to win that division?
Maybe I did. I don't know. I can't remember now what.
Yeah, I mean that division's so bad.
Well, Minnesota won 12 games last year.
Yeah, but Minnesota won 11 one-score games last year.
I hear you. And
I mean, I think last year the karma that was working for them, oftentimes you know how that goes. Oftentimes you get the breaks one year.
That's true.
I mean, the NFL is literally, you have to wait till about week 4 to see where.
That's what I think.
You got
there's enough hay in the barn.
Yeah.
It's a quarter of the season.
Yep.
Can a team completely change directions? Jacksonville did last year. It
Who
always
fired
happens.
their coach and got really good? Didn't somebody fire their coach because he kept saying.
Was it Carolina? Carolina almost made the
Was
playoffs.
Matt
They didn't
Rule.
get really good.
Yeah, Matt Rule. That's who.
But
it was.
they
fired
did
their
move
coach and
dramatic.
started winning games.
But they almost won a really, really bad division.
Here's where I kind of differ. Like, I could see something and be like, I could see it 2 or 3 times and be like,
That's how I feel.
oh yeah, that's good.
That's how I feel about the defense.
That's not going because what
To me, the Browns defense seems sustainable.
It is.
You take the
they did it for a whole preseason too.
Right,
You
true.
take the parts, right?
Preseason?
Well, what
It was the
what
twos
little
and
they
the
were out.
threes.
They were just
But they
trying to make
still-
Bull explode.
They
aren't you?
still did it.
No, listen,
what I'm saying is,
I actually do agree with Bull in that we only have 1 week to talk about, and we're supposed to talk about all this
Right.
stuff, so we got to
Sure.
talk about it. I do think it is very important to try to drill down on that point in that did we see things that we absolutely love? Yes. However, before I start pouring cement, I need to see that week in
Right.
and week out.
And that's not-
and I need to see it against
I
real quality
agree.
teams.
Yeah, and
I
that's
agree.
and I'm not diminishing what the Browns did at all. What they did was extremely impressive. Extremely.
Yeah.
And if they continue to play like they did, at least defensively, but the offense needs to be better. Deshaun Watson needs to play
Oh,
better.
absolutely.
He didn't play well enough.
Absolutely.
He
I'm
didn't play
talking.
well
I'm
enough.
Well,
talking
Bull, last year
specifically
you mentioned the
defense.
4 picks for
Yeah.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
and the loss to Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
he missed the preseason last year, too.
He did.
He's never played in the preseason.
He's never played.
So I think the one caveat that I would throw out there, I've always said, don't bury Pittsburgh. It's just too early. And we've seen too much over too long of a stretch of time to know that they're not just going to fall off the table. That organization doesn't do that. But the other thing that I would warn on is, and I heard a lot of Browns fans doing this yesterday, is some sort of coronation that Joe Burrow now isn't Joe Burrow.
Oh, no, that's
This guy is
absurd.
still an MVP candidate.
That's absurd.
Yeah, this
That's
guy
when
is
people-
still an MVP candidate.
That's when people get nuts.
Yeah.
But I
He threw
get
4
it.
picks last year against Pittsburgh.
Listen, I get it. If you're a Browns fan, you're excited.
You want that to be the reality.
You want it to be true. You
Yeah.
want Joe Burrow to now suck.
Right, yeah.
Well, Deshaun Watson sucked last year. Why can't Joe Burrow suck this year?
Right, sure.
So, you want the Steelers to be crappy. And the Steelers may be crappy. And maybe Burrow, maybe the calf affects him all year and he doesn't have a good year.
Right.
It's all possible. I'm just saying I can't make a sweeping judgment about any team, good or bad, based on 1 week. Do I think the Browns defense is a lot better than last year? Of course I do, but I already thought that. Now, in 1 week, it backed it up even more than I thought, but I'm not going to say, well, now I think they can win 14
I would
games.
say that.
I want to see him win against Baltimore before I start rubber stamping that
But
there's
here's the thing: as a player in the locker room,
Yeah.
the coach is telling you, faith is the stuff that you don't see. He's telling you trust and believe in each other, and then it manifests itself. If you got guys in their locker room that say they want to wait and see, that's the wrong.
But that's not a player. I'm not asking players to wait.
Well,
and
no,
see.
I'm just giving an overall.
No, players
picture.
make judgments before they even play week 1.
So when you say, if you got a bunch of people that believe, right, and that's in the locker room that's going out there playing, the question is, do they believe it?
I think the reason that I'm so encouraged by this Browns defense because this win is so much different than last year's week 1. Last year's
Big
week
time.
1, it was coverage bust. It went back and forth. They kind of
We felt dirty after
they
week
kind
1
of died
last
down
year.
in the second half of that game. This one, I thought from a defensive standpoint, the DBs played flawless. That's something that's going to translate because they're going up against the best wide receiver core in the NFL.
That's another thing.
And they played them lights out.
Right.
I don't care what the weather was. They were in tight coverage right there making plays
How
on the
hard
ball.
is that to do?
Hard. Especially against a guy like
talk about
Jamar
that, Ty,
Chase and
because
T. Higgins.
Man to man?
Then you're talking about
Man-to-man
guys
on a
that
wet field against the
slipping.
top receiving core in the NFL.
You're talking about guys that you could potentially be slipping on when you coming out your breaks and stuff. They were there step for step with the best trio in the NFL. So that's why, to me, I'm like, oh, this defense looks so much better. They weren't confused. It wasn't no coverage bust. And that defensive line was everything as advertised.
Yeah.
So that's why, to me, I'm like, I'm good with the defense. I think the defense is going to be great.
But didn't you already think it was going to be great?
I
before the
did.
season? That's
I
what
did.
I'm saying. Yeah.
But I'm saying I see why people like.
But admit
is
they
hyped up about
surprised you
them.
with just how good they were.
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't
100%.
think that they would do.
Because I thought they'd be great too.
Yeah.
I didn't think they'd be that great.
Exactly. I wasn't thinking
I
a
thought
total
it'd be a low-scoring
shutdown.
game. I didn't think they'd hold the Bengals to 3 points.
I didn't either.
Not. Nobody could have predicted
How
that.
many?
no
What
one.
was Jamar Chase's stats? 5 catches for
It was
what?
nothing. He
5
did nothing.
for 39.
Yeah, see, I didn't think that
Yeah,
I'm a guy that said Jamar Chase can't be stopped like that.
Agree with last year. First of all, you had Jacoby Brissett, not Deshaun Watson.
That's true.
Facts.
All right, that's a big one. Number 2, the Browns basically choked away that game last year and then got lucky that the kicker made a ridiculously long field goal. This game, it was never in doubt. Certainly the second half was never in doubt.
So that's why I'm more
even
encouraged.
in the second half, I remember I tweeted at one point, there was still 8-9 minutes to go, and I tweeted, what an impressive performance by the Browns, blah, blah, blah. Normally, with 9 minutes to go, I would have had hundreds of fans yelling at me on Twitter saying, you're jinxing it. You're blah, blah, blah. I didn't get one of those. Not one person said that because that's how in control the fans felt. By the way, it is funny. You said, some fans saying, oh, Burrow's going to suck this year or whatever. He's been passed.
Wishful thinking.
What's funny, though, is when you kick ass a good opponent, you should revel in the fact that I just beat a great team.
Sure.
Not try to diminish the players because
Exactly.
you're better if you think they're good and you still beat them.
You made an MVP candidate look like trash.
Yes.
Celebrate that.
And on
Yes.
top of all of that, the best part about it, what made me the happiest, is that Jamar Chase that you got, that was his best. Because he was talking trash and he knew
Sure,
he had
he
to
was
back
doing
it up.
everything he
so
could to back it up.
And
this
he got
is my
dominated.
best, and you better be at your best. Because if you're not at your best, I'm gonna embarrass you. And they well, I ain't gonna say they shut him down. 5
They
catches
did?
for 39.
No, they
that
shut him
is
down.
kind of a shutdown in
That's
his
a
book.
shutdown.
Like that's something to stick your chest out on. That's for real. That wasn't no fluke.
Real-
Like we
real-
really
was
got
a
after you.
non-factor.
Real successful people sees the opportunity and see opportunity where other people see status quo. The Cleveland Browns right now in the AFC got an opportunity. If you take a look at those games that we're looking at right now, we looked at it could be a bad thing. Yeah, if you go 0-3 in the division, that's a bad thing. But we got to look at the opposite side. You got an opportunity. If you can go 3-0 in the division, you now could put real serious pressure on people. Because now you can look at it. Do you feel more comfortable about playing home games in the playoffs?
And
if you want to say you're a playoff team, you got to breathe, eat, sleep playoffs. Yeah. You can't wait and say when we get 9 and 10 in, we'll start to believe it. No. Because you got to start thinking that way now. It's the process.
I agree with you, G. And how I feel, or if I have to see it proven, it's not the same as with a player. A player should always believe it. I agree with you. And I've said this before. When you're a good team, when you root for a good team, you don't care who you're playing.
That's it.
It's like, I don't care if I'm playing a good team. I want to play a good team.
Greatest.
Winners want the smoke.
That's how you know
look at you.
That's right.
That's how you know.
T-shirt. Winners want the smoke.
That's how you know you're a real contender. When you get the schedule out,
you're like, who cares?
Yeah.
I don't care. I got to play
Tyvus, let me ask you something that Mary Kay touched on that I think is very important, and I think you're the perfect person to drill deeper on that.
Well, thank you.
She said that part of this magic that we're seeing so far in the Browns defense is the fact that Myles Garrett, who's clearly the linchpin to this defense, sees exactly eye to eye with Jim Schwartz's vision of what he wants.
That's everything.
Him standing up over the center, dribbling between his legs on the 6th play of the game, as Cameron pointed out, that really signifies he knows something that you don't know. We're better than you think. How important is that the best player on the unit is in perfect sync with the leader, and how can that confidence transform itself into results?
It's everything, because coaches coach, players play. Okay, so the game plan might be, Myles, we want you to play on the right side this whole game and do it that way. But Myles is in the game and he's like, you know what? That center is a weak link. Let me match up on that center right quick and make this play. I guarantee you that I can make something happen.
And he has the liberty to do that now.
And Jim Schwartz to look at it and say, you know what, Myles? I trust you. You out there, you know better than me. You feel it better than me. Go ahead. You know what? We'll make some changes. We got depth now. We don't need you to play DN because we got Double O and we got Zadarius. So if you want to go play in the middle, we got you. We got you covered. Go play that middle right quick while we still got these edges out there. He goes out there, shows it. Now that's something that nobody thought. Jim Schwartz probably studied and was like, I never thought that we have a mismatch on the center with Myles there. But now that's a wrinkle in the game
plan.
And now
every offensive coordinator has to be
prepared. Oh, my God. They can move him around.
The Bengals were not prepared for that whatsoever.
Exactly.
How could you be?
And Lou Anarumo is one of the 5 best defensive coaches in the league, and he was completely unprepared for that. By the way, another thing that really stood out to me with Myles Garrett, think about this. There have been games in the past where Myles Garrett has had even 3 sacks, and we were like, it didn't feel like he had an impact in the game.
Because they weren't necessarily pivotal plays.
This game, it felt like he had 5 sacks, even though he only had 1.
I
Because I felt like he was all – that was one of those games that people talk about with T.J. Watt. You're like, the statistics don't look amazing, but it felt like he was all over the place the whole game. That's what I felt about Myles Garrett watching this game.
That's what everybody
I felt like he was making an impact on every play.
I heard Steve Kerr say this. He said, man, I had to get outside of my feeling. The first game I came in, and I was practicing, and Steph came up and pulled up from dang near half court. And every other coach in my life just manifested itself through my body. And he said I had to stop myself because he said, I was holding him back. To every other player in the world, that's a bad shot. But being a great coach is understanding that shot for you is money. And that shot for you makes you special. So when I started letting Steph and Clay shoot that shot, it transformed us into who we are. And for so many years.
That's a great analogy, G.
For so many years, people would say that's tomfoolery. You're embarrassing the game. You're dribbling between your legs. You're hot dogging. It's a me guy. Just because you don't have the security as a coach to say, sometimes you better than I can coach you up. So just do what you do. And the great coaches put you out there and just say go, and then you can see what they can bring back.
Mary Kay said it best. Double O said that it felt like we was let free. Just go. Just do you. And that is the best feeling, to know that you ain't worried about. I'm not worried about somebody hooking me out the game like, oh, what are you doing? Like, no, do you.
Because last year the system was so rigid.
Oh, it was
it was, and it never changed. And this year, what you're seeing is the chains are off. They all have the liberty to do their thing. And the key part too about this, Miles wasn't able to do that last year. He didn't have the support staff up front.
Right.
Now, with the pieces all along that defensive front, if he feels that he's got a mismatch on the other side of the ball, on the other side of the line, he's free to go over there and wreak havoc there. And I have such high hopes for what this defense.
Well, I tell you what they did. What this defense did, if anything, they set a bar. They set a standard.
No doubt.
And as a fan base, and
it's tough to reach.
We had that, but they put it on tape.
No,
that's the thing. You put it on tape.
When they did it against Cincinnati,
every game, you better play up to this standard.
But Bull
if not,
said
you're gonna hear
yesterday, and I
something.
thought it was appropriate. Bull said, "Don't expect this every week."
Why not?
Because 17 weeks of that effort is unsustainable.
Nobody thought the Bears was going to do it back in the 80s.
And when they lost their only game of the year to the Dolphins, that world-class defense looked like they forgot how to play.
Nobody thought San Francisco was going to be like that all last. They did it for 17 games.
You can do it, but it's very difficult to do it week in and week out.
But the Browns should
and they didn't
expect
do
it.
it
So
week
why
in
not?
and week out. They gave up 35 points in week
With
one.
the talent that the Browns have, why can't they?
If you got
It's almost impossible to ask for that effort every
No,
week.
it ain't. Impossible is zero.
The effort's not impossible.
But the results, Bull.
The results, yes.
Even the Ravens' great defense when they won the Super Bowl with Ray Lewis, they had games in that season where they were dinged.
Yeah, the Browns, they're never going to hold teams to 3 points every week.
No,
you understand
it's not.
That.
It's
but
not.
there's a level of play and attitude and energy that they need to play with every week.
And Management 101, they tell you, when you get buy-in from the people and they feel they have a say-so in their own destiny, they'll play for each other and themselves instead of playing for the company. You want players to play for each other, and that's where that energy comes from, because they're saying, guys, we have some skin in the game. He's letting us do what we want to.
Yeah, and we better perform, because now it's on us if we don't.
There it is.
But in the end, it's such a week-to-week game, because you think about it, like you compare the Bengals offense to the Steelers offense. I can't name what's a position where the Steelers have a better player. Tight end. That's it.
Yeah, you're right. That is it.
That's it.
Bengals, that is
it. Mixon's better than Najee Harris. Yeah. The Bengals are better at wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2.
I would take Pickens over wide receiver 3 for the Bengals.
Well, but he's wide receiver 1 for them.
I know. If you match him up 1-to-1, obviously the Bengals have the better receiving core. They have the better running back.
Right. The Bengals offensive line, even though it played poorly against the Browns, is better, and it will play well against other teams. The Browns just have a really great D-line. The Steelers' offensive line is not very good either. So it's pretty close. And obviously the Bengals have a massive edge at quarterback. So you'd think, well, they should hold the Steelers to 0 points. But
that's not going to happen.
We know it just doesn't happen that way.
I'm going to say this real quick, and then I'm going to let McNuggets get his read in so he can stop holding that sign.
Yeah, he's waving his arms back there.
But I think G hit something when he said that you play harder for each other. The best thing I heard out of the post-game interviews when I was doing the post-game show was that the competition amongst each other. Miles said, I seen at the beginning of the game, Zadarius got there before me, and I'm like, oh, man. Okay, so now for the rest of the game, I'm thinking to myself, I'm competing with him because he's going to get there if I don't.
It's like the Braves pitching staff in the 90s.
Yeah.
They had 4 Cy Young candidates, and each start, the pitcher would go out and throw a 3-hit shutout. So the pitcher getting the ball the next day, whether it was Glavine, Maddox, or Smoltz, or whoever it was, they always said the same thing. I saw what the guy did yesterday. I got to be better than that. And you're right.
Or it's like the Guardians outfielders trying not to hit home runs.
Right. I haven't hit any home runs. Neither have you.
I haven't hit a home run all year.
Yeah, and you know what? They all got together at the beginning of the season and said, look, if none of us hit home runs, we're not going to make the other ones look bad.
That's right.
So nobody hit home runs. They lost another 1-run game last night. Okay, McNuggets, I know you've got a torn rotator cuff after waving those arms back there.
And then we're going to do a quick little topic here. Then we're going to bring in DJ Hasman when he joins us. But after the game on Monday night, even though the game won't end until 11:30, we are still doing a post-game show. Myself, Earl, G. Bush will be there after every single Browns game this season, regardless of what time kickoff happens, regardless of what time the game ends. We will start our post-game show at the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
Last time was a blast. Make sure you guys tune in again on Monday night this time. It'll be late.
All right.
But we will be there.
I got 3 things. First of all, in that picture, Mike looks like he's wearing hospital scrubs. Number 2, Earl looks like he just got kicked in the balls, but now he's trying to hold it together.
Kind of.
What about G. Bush?
G. Bush, I can't even say what it looks like. He just happened to him 2 minutes earlier.
You know what? I'll tell you what G. Bush looks like. Can we go back to the G. Bush picture?
Yeah.
What we're seeing there is he's saying, I got to get to the neck doctor.
Yeah, like
my neck is jacked up.
Like, yo, that was a good day too.
You got the
By
head
the way,
lean.
McNuggets, how come we have not had a fast read about our WKYC Fridays today? What happened?
That's right.
Guys, we talked about it.
No,
You know
not
what's
today.
coming?
Now we got to push it every
we'll
push
promote
it
it.
for the
Let's
day.
go.
For the next fast read, I have a legit question for you guys, though.
Okay.
So I know we talked a lot earlier about Dawand Jones versus TJ Watt.
Yeah.
I got the other side of the equation here. So if the Browns now feel like they have to shift some sort of extra help towards Dawand Jones, whether he's facing off against TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith, that's going to leave one-on-one opportunities with Jed Wills on the opposite side against whoever the Steelers don't put over Dawand Jones. And Alex Highsmith is not TJ Watt. Do not get it confused. He is not on the same level. But in his own right, he is a very capable and effective pass rusher.
Sure.
With Jones being at right tackle now, and I'm going to assume the help will be shifted that side to help him. First career start on the road in Pittsburgh. How worried about you on the other side with Jed Wills holding up against over Pittsburgh places at their right defensive end position?
If Jed Wills want to see another contract, he better win this matchup. This should be. I'm not since they're thinking because Trey Hendrickson is who he is. He's not elite, but he's right up under the elite. So I give you that pass. This one right here, Hightower, young guy who's starting to make a little push in this NFL. You should be able to handle this. Like, if you can't handle this, then they need to be on the phone with somebody trying to get a left tackle after this game.
And Larry's going to have to deal with Larry Ogunjobi, too, who's a starter for the Steelers.
Yeah, that's right.
Not that he's that good.
Hasn't he played for every AFC North?
Yeah, he's making the tour.
Not Ravens
Ravens.
yet. Okay.
He's the only one. That's next year.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Listen, Mary Kay brought up a note right there. I mean, would you move Dawand Jones to left tackle?
I love that idea. I love that idea.
They said that he wasn't really like that at left tackle, and they both him and Jed Wills both have the same thing. They've been right tackles their entire life. So
Well, they moved Jed right to left.
and now you see what
And
happened.
it hasn't worked.
Exactly.
So maybe let's try it with Dawand. You know what? I want to go through the pictures of Dawand that we always show when we talk about him. I don't know, Steve.
some of them are
you can call
ridiculous.
those
It
up.
was the Eagles
You know
one.
what? All I can think of is Andy Reid punt, pass, and kick.
Yeah. Oh, I thought of the movie The Blind Side
Yeah, how he was
when he
just
pushes the kid over the fence.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
If we can find those pictures again, every time I see them, and particularly when he's blocking that poor kid from Toledo, it literally looks like Andy Reid at the punt, pass, and kick competition. Now look at all of the guys that he is pictured here against, and I know you see the ass of the Michigan player there, but when we move forward, all of these photos, he's playing against, in this case, a Division I scholarship athlete.
Yep. They get
Even though
paid.
his draws are hanging out, he looks terrible with his uni there.
Yeah, come on. Why
But
would
he's
you have
getting
them draws
manhandled.
on?
What do you
Yeah.
expect?
He got Ethica draws on.
Even the
That's
pictures
crazy.
where he's going against NFL players, particularly the one where he's lining up against Jackson, that is an NFL player, and he looks like Andy Reid at the punt, pass, and kick competition.
What type of player
crazy.
plays with Ethica draws though? Why not?
I don't know what that was.
Why
bro.
not
That's some
that?
sort of Toledo
I
guy.
used to do compressions, but then as I got older, I went jock strap.
Yeah, well, that's kind of
Yeah.
the standard.
It's
That jock
kinda
strap-
ridiculous.
That jock strap is a life changer.
By the way, one other I don't know if we've seen an update in the last hour or so, Mike, but one other injury that could help the Browns too for the Steelers is Pat Freiermuth got hurt too.
Is he out?
As of now, he's.
Well, he finished the game, though, didn't he?
So what happened was he got hurt, he left, he came back, he
yeah.
scored a touchdown, and then he left again.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't notice that he didn't come back
Now,
after the touchdown.
what I read as of this morning was.
I have an update from 20 minutes ago.
Okay, go ahead.
Brooke Pryor, who covers the Steelers
Right.
for
Yeah, we've
ESPN,
had
will be
Brooke
joining us on Thursday.
Oh, good.
Was at the Mike Tomlin press conference. She tweeted out 21 minutes ago other injuries that Coach Tomlin says he's optimistic about in terms of them playing on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Pat Freiermuth is on the list. So is Larry Ogunjobi, James Daniels, and Chucks Okafor.
So
San Francisco took a pound of flesh out of them.
Okafor and Ogunjobi are both starters for them.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
So that's two other defensive starters
Now,
banged up.
he's optimistic that those players will go.
Okay, but they're still banged
some
up.
Of them, some of them may not go.
And Freiermuth took a huge hit to the chest. Supposedly, if he doesn't have a fractured rib, it's just a pain tolerance. But that's something that could flare up again.
Something off subject real quick. Didn't the Browns sign somebody on P Squad that was a tackle?
I don't remember
They traded Tyrone Wheatley.
No, I thought didn't they? It was like he was like a first round pick.
What after the all
Alex?
the cuts?
Alex
yeah,
Leather.
they signed Alex Leather.
You're right.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Is
but
he
he's a
any good?
bust. I mean, he's
he hasn't done anything
okay.
yet.
They're not going to put him in there. They see something. in
Well,
him,
I mean, he's
obviously.
probably
Well,
about to get activated to the
pedigree that they
53.
see.
You're probably right.
You know what I that just popped into my head? You know who this game is on. We just listed a bunch of reasons why the Steelers is down. Bunch of guys up front, name brand players.
Mike Tomlin.
You got your young quarterback. If you're the Browns, this is a game I'm specifically looking at the quarterback, because the quarterback comes in and says, "Dude, Deshaun Watson shouldn't have nobody being happy, excited. This should be very workmanlike. He should be preaching, dude, we going to Pittsburgh. You know what it is. Remember what they did to us last year."
They can.
And he's supposed to, because this is a game on paper the Browns are supposed to win.
Yes.
And that's very dangerous if you don't got the guy to helm being very workmanlike and saying we need to go in and put them away and get it done. And go. That'll tell me a lot.
The offense can't say nothing.
Oh,
they can't go and brag nothing. They got to go in there. They had a terrible showing, so they got it.
I don't think it was a terrible showing. They put up 24 points, and I know 7 came off a short field, but they also fumbled deep in Cincinnati's territory.
You know what I'm trying to say.
24 points.
The passing game
was awful.
Okay,
but I love you can't forget the run game. I mean,
just saying.
Nick Chubb averaged almost 6 yards a carry.
They should be doing extra.
That's his career average, isn't it?
Because
5.9. No, it's not that high.
Because
the 5.1.
The Peyton Mannings, the Tom Brady's, they would be angry this week. The offense,
100%. Deshaun should be pissed right now.
He'd be angry, and the guys would be after practice watching more tape, because they're gonna say, "Guys, we were the weakest link on the offense.
Yeah,
our defense and our run game bailed us out. We will not go up there and look the way we did." And I think that'll tell me a lot about the maturity of the team. It'll tell me about Watson as a leader, and it'll tell me a lot if you really ready to contend.
Yeah, you're 100% right. We have some fans out there. I heard this on radio this morning, trying to make an argument for Deshaun Watson had a good game. Okay, he didn't.
Don't
the standards
do that.
By the way, if Baker Mayfield had played the game Deshaun Watson did, we wouldn't have said it was a good game. So let's not be phonies about it. It wasn't a good game by Deshaun Watson. See, and Deshaun Watson knows he didn't play well enough. We know the rain was a factor. Of course it was.
Sure.
But guys that are great quarterbacks, as you say, they don't make excuses. If Tom Brady played like that, he'd be pissed. Peyton Manning pissed, all of them. Deshaun Watson has got to be pissed. I agree with you 100%. He's thinking, well, the defense was great. Special teams was solid. Nick Chubb was awesome.
Now I was the worst. It's time for him to write.
I was the worst part of the game.
Because Cameron from NFL Network said earlier, look, it's been a 7-game sample. And each time he rolls out there and throws another egg, it's time to start getting more and more concerned about, is this guy going to be the guy that we're paying him to be?
Especially if he's the guy that said, I'm going to be better than 2020.
That's right. So we're not going to judge you on the 2022 standard. Mm-hmm. We're going to judge you on the 2019 standard, or whatever the year was when he put up all the stats, whatever season that was, 2020. Mm-hmm. So we're looking with a very sharp eye. I know you got some reads to do before we do our
I have a read, a couple super chats, then we have Has. We're going to hold top 5 for very quick overtime afterwards. But real quick, before we read super chats are brought to us, as always, by PCC Airfoils. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, well, PCC Airfoils is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions, start at $18 and up. Plus, full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We got 4 of these. We're going to run through them real quick. Bull, this first one is for you. It's from Jay Daniels. Said, I need some fantasy help. I've been offered Alexander Madison and Nico Collins for Jahmyr Gibbs and Mike Williams. Yay or nay?
Nay.
He has Jahmyr Gibbs?
He was offered Madison and Collins for Gibbs and Williams, yes.
No,
No.
don't do it.
Nope.
Okay. Next up from B-Dog21. We say there's no must-wins in Week 2, but last year that Week 2 meltdown cost us against the Jets. Every game should be must-win. Yardy says 2 reasons that Watson wasn't at his best on Sunday, the rain and Jed Wills. Wills got beat on every drop back. And then Reggie Glover says, as a Browns fan living behind enemy lines in Cincinnati and married to a Bengals fan, I am pumped. G. Bush, does that hoodie come in orange with a dog on the back?
Good question.
No, it's not.
The light just went off.
No.
By the way, that's got to be what's more awkward if your spouse roots for a different team or votes in a different political party.
The political party.
Yeah.
I respect those opinions, but I could never marry a Steelers fan. It couldn't happen. I'm not being dead serious. I would never do it.
Yeah.
My sister, who's a diehard Browns fan, married a Steelers fan. My daughter, who's a Browns fan, married a Steelers fan. I don't understand that.
So let me ask you this:
that's a character flaw.
Has your sister and or your daughter have they gone over to the Steelers side at all?
Never.
Okay.
Ever.
Very good.
No, because they got my DNA running through their blood.
My sister married a Yankees fan, and I was
did she switch?
She's not a diehard sports fan,
right?
So she roots for the Yankees and the Cubs. You know what I'm saying? But she wasn't a diehard. You're describing your daughter and your sister as diehard fans.
Well, my daughter is a casual fan.
Okay.
But no,
she
would
won't
never
go over
switch.
to the Steelers.
If someone in the family made that transition, I'm sure he'd be in, or she would be in the next DJ Hazmat song. DJ Hazmat will not let that slide in his family. And joining us now is the one,
yeah, baby. Man, it's good to see you again, especially off of a win.
Yes. Got to start the season off right, man.
Was this an easy video for you? Was it difficult? Take us through the process.
Well, this time I had the song in mind that I was going to flip before we even played them. And I was just so confident that I was going to be able to do this song and exactly how I wanted it. So it's never that easy. It just, I just got to dig in. You know what I mean? Just got to dig in and get it done.
How long did it take?
Well, the song, I spent the entire Sunday night into Sunday morning doing the song. Wow. And then yesterday, when I got off work, I came home and shot the video piece and stayed up pretty late to make sure I had the video ready to premiere today.
This dude grinds like no other. We love it, DJ Hazmat. We'll let you introduce the video. However you want to introduce it, go ahead and throw it to the video in your own style.
Well, here we go. DJ Hazmat with the Browns recap 2023 Week 1 versus the Bengals. We call this one Dog Pound.
The deal is finally done. The Cincinnati Bengals and quarterback Joe Burrow have agreed to terms on a 5-year extension worth up to $275 million. Nice. He will make $219.1 million in guaranteed, which is easily the most in franchise history.
Hey, Haz.
It's like a regular game to me. It don't feel no different. It's just the hooping and hollering about the Cleveland Browns. I was about to call them the Elves, but if you ask me, I don't really pay attention to it because Cleveland is Cleveland.
Dog pound, up in the dog pound. Yeah. Since he always getting beat by the Browns. Yeah, we beat the Bengals down.
We did.
Yeah, now bring them haters out.
Bring them.
Dog pound, up in the dog pound.
Dog pound.
Since he always getting beat by the Browns.
All the time.
Yeah, we beat the Bengals down.
Beat them down.
Yeah, tell Chase to shut his mouth.
Shut it.
We just whooped on Cincinnati. Same old Bengals if you ask me. All them analysts had them favored and so Aggie. We been smoking on that Joe Burrow like Pat Mahomes' daddy. Defense had him looking silly. He blamed it on the rain. Now he Milli Vanilli. Knowing we've had his number ever since he was drafted. Jamar ran his mouth so Myles Garrett reacted. Calling us the elves, playing in our face. So we made the offense disappear without a chase. Did he even play? Cause I barely noticed at all. The warden had him locked down, fresh out of protocol. You know their offense sucked overall, cause they had 10 punts for over 400 yards. In fact, no player on their offense even cracked 100. So like Juju, you too got exactly what you wanted.
Got him.
Dog pound, up in the dog pound. Since he always always getting beat by the Browns. Yeah, we beat the Bengals down. Yeah, now bring them haters out. Look, I can't admit at times our offense was a struggle. Deshaun threw a pick, Jerome Rome lost a fumble. But right before the half, Watson made some hot throws, scored a touchdown with his legs, then started to rock and roll. Nick Chubb, per usual, ran for 106, and hallelujah, yo, Hopkins made all of his kicks. I can't believe they tried to go for it on 4th and 4, though, in their own territory. Garrett showed them that's a no-go. Deshaun hit Harrison, sliding in for one more score, then ran the 2-point conversion to make it 24. Oh, I can't forget that sack from earlier that went to Obo. We 5-1 versus Joe, don't talk to me about him no more. No. Dog pound, up in the dog pound. Since he always getting beat by the Browns. Yeah, we beat the Bengals down. Yeah, tell Chase to shut his mouth.
I think that was the best one I've ever heard.
Every week. I really do. I say that every week.
They're all great, but I think that was the best one. That was really
Billy
good.
Manilli line. You got to be old enough to get that, but blame it on the rain. That is absolutely brilliant.
That was fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That was another level. That was like we talk about Myles Garrett had one more level in him.
Yeah, DJ went to the next level.
One more level.
I also loved how the line about the kicker making all the kicks.
That was hilarious.
The 400 yards. I thought the 400-yard punt was like, I'm like, it's a lot of punt yards, bro.
That was epic. Yeah. So good, man. Now, what are your thoughts on the win? Like, we expected the defense to be really, really good. We were all shocked at just how good they were. I saw a quote here moments ago from Mike Tomlin. He said, to be blunt, I thought their corners won the game for them last week. You agree with that?
Yeah, our secondary definitely played well. You know, we didn't know what to expect from Denzel Ward having not practiced and being in concussion protocol, but he's just a dog. And I'm so glad to have him. You know, he can lock down your best receiver, and that showed, you know what I'm saying? And it was gratifying because of what Chase said before the games. But yes, the defense was obviously the star in this game. We got to see what our offense is going to look like when we're not playing in the conditions and the elements. So hopefully if it's a clear night on Monday night and we can still show off the way we did against Cincinnati and we do the same thing to the Steelers. I mean, I'm feeling confident after watching what happened to them against San Francisco. and you know, it's just about, I've been watching all of these sports shows and they're predicting the AFC and everybody had us finishing last. You know what I'm saying? So the irony of that, and it's just, you know, to not even consider the fact that the Bengals just can't beat us for some reason, whatever that reason is, we just have their number, even admittedly by Joe Burrow, that they just, something about Cleveland, they just can't deal with us. I guess we just a perfect matchup for their style of play. But yes, kudos to the defense. I'm liking what Jim Schwartz is doing, bringing the pressure. And, you know, it wasn't just the corners. The corners can't really get active like that unless you Miles and Zay and them are causing problems up front. So
last thing before I let you go, I know you haven't been all in on Deshaun because Baker was your guy. Are you finally all in on Deshaun now?
Listen, I need everybody to understand this and get this clarified, okay? I'm always with the Browns, whoever the quarterback is, with the exception of Brandon Wheat.
That was Bull's favorite guy, by the way.
Well, I don't know about favorite, but I did think he was going to be good, and I was well wrong on that, yes.
And, you know, to me, it was more about the culture of just feeling like we got to make a drastic move when I felt like the team was in a good position. I think not Baker necessarily. I just think when he got hurt, they should have benched him and tried what they should have did with the backup. But they did what they did. You know, it's been 2 years. You see, I had my Deshaun jersey in the closet. So, of course, I'm all in. I was never against Deshaun Watson. He's a talented quarterback, and who wouldn't want to have that on your team? I was just more so hoping that what happened to the Jets don't happen to us. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's the deal.
Thanks, man. That was awesome.
One other thing, too, I loved the Jim Brown jersey in your closet and you working that into the video, because I think that's going to be an underlying theme. Nick Chubb said, I'm dedicating the entire season to 32. And
Right.
he's not one to
Yeah.
scream from the mountaintops about anything.
No,
when he
no.
says something, it's real.
Yeah.
And I love that you had the jersey in there in the video.
Prediction for the Monday night game. You scared a little bit? You got what you got the Browns? What we talking about?
I'm not being nervous this year. I feel like this. We spent $230 million, so we better play like it. You know what I'm saying? I expect us to ball out. You know,
That's why-
we
that's
spent
fair.
the money, so it's time for us to show what we can do. And I have full confidence in this roster. I know a lot of people want to be on the fence because of our history, but not me. I'm never the guy that's going to be like, well, you didn't win in the past, so you're not going to win now. That's never how I look at it. I look at it for this year. I'm looking at this roster, and if you saw this roster on with any other team's name attached to it, you'd be saying playoffs at least. So
Right?
I think we're in great position.
Has some
Thanks,
of your
Haz.
best work, man. Can't wait to see
That
what
was
you come
awesome.
up with next week. See you, brother.
Always.
That was really
Peace out.
great.
Yeah, it was.
Thanks, Haz.
It was tremendous.
I thought that was the best. I don't know.
It was good.
Make sure
Maybe
you
a
go
little
like that on
moment,
YouTube.
but-
Get them numbers up. Make sure you get that on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to a channel, and make
right.
sure you like that. You know what I'm saying?
He
You
make
do
me
great work.
wonder, how much did they pay Jim Schwartz to be DC?
I don't know, but whatever it was worth every penny. And I hope they have to pay him more next year. That's the bigger. That's
I would
the bigger-
ask.
By the way, shout out to Tristan Thompson, who returns to the cab.
We'll get that one sec. We'll get that one sec. But KR Thunder,
T-top.
KR Thunder just gifted 5 memberships. Shout out KR Thunder in the chat for gifting memberships to the people out
Good.
there. Appreciate you, KR.
Awesome.
Tristan Thompson, 90 seconds. Go.
I thought it was legitimately they signed him for one day so he could retire.
I thought
as a
that's
Cap.
what it was.
I did, and then when I read a little bit more, it's like no, they expect this guy to play. I just don't know what.
Maybe he's here just to teach those guys how to be not so gutless in the playoffs.
Jason Lloyd just walked in.
Shut
I don't
up,
think
Jason.
Jason, that's what I said
You
yesterday. I'm
still
like,
think
he's
Cedric Wills is our average? He sucks. At number two, Tristan Thompson. Maybe he could teach not by playing. Maybe he's could be like an assistant coach and teach some toughness. Because one thing that guy
Yeah, he had it in
was
spades.
toughness, and his Cavs team is soft as Charmin until proven in the playoff. I don't care if the Cavs go 82-0. They're soft as Charmin until they win in the playoffs.
I agree.
I agree too.
I will agree with that.
I
statement.
cede my time to the gentleman, the senator from
But however,
Ohio.
if they do go 82-0, I'm probably picking him in the first round.
yeah, I won't take it.
I'm just saying
They
that.
can go
right
3-0. Jay's going to have to win the championship.
now. No, they got to go 5-0 first. Then I'll have him winning it all.